Don't worry, Trump's got a whole new generation of thinkers lined up, including his newly confirmed Secretary of Homeland Security, Markwayne, Chuck Mike, Bruce Dave Mullin. Maybe Mellon's better. He is the now former senator of Oklahoma. Before he was elected to the Senate, Markwayne Mullin was a low-level MMA fighter and a plumber. That's right. We have a plumber protecting us from terrorism now.
Oh my God, that is funny!
It worked for Super Mario. Why not, Markwayne?
You want to run your mouth? We can be two consenting adults. We can finish it here.
Oh, hold on. Oh, stop it.
I will eat your ass.
In this world, there's two kinds of people, my friend. Those with loaded guns and those who dig. Broadcasting from a Montana wilderness fortress at the headwaters of the Missouri, this is Matt Christiansen Live.
Hello and welcome to the show. This is Matt Christiansen Live, a proud duct tape production for Wednesday, March 25th, 2026. Thank you for tuning in. Sitting shotgun tonight is Skulldugger. He has enough hair to make up for me.
Saddle up, partner.
And look who's back. Another Matt. Yet another one. Our friend Matthew Mastronardi, former Spokane high school teacher, fired for reading the N-word in To Kill a Mockingbird, now runs the greatest bake shop in the Pacific Northwest, and my sources pre-show say is now some sort of sustainability farmer guy, or how's the baking business, and are you now a farmer man?
Well, thanks for having me on again. Yeah, so you are correct. Bake shop is going tremendous, and I met another fan of your show around here, and so that's good. But
At the bake shop, are they coming out just hordes of people?
No, this was through a mutual acquaintance.
Oh, cool.
So maybe he's live tonight. So if you're watching, you know who you are. Howdy. And yeah, we just bought some cows on 10 acres of land, and we are going full send farmer lifestyle.
Well, that's great, man. I know this is your first appearance for the year. We haven't had you back since December, and I know you've been very busy. So it's good to hear that you've been busy in a good way, building something great for your family. Congratulations.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And I keep in touch with a lot of my students now on social media, and they like to follow a lot of the farming content that I've been posting. And yeah, so it's pretty sweet.
Well, that's great. I would ask you how Spokane High School, or whatever the name of the high school is, doing, but who cares? They're in the past now, and those kids are worse off for it, I trust. Anyway, in the news for discussion tonight, we're still trying to get a deal to fund TSA and the rest of DHS so the airport lines can be fixed. Supposedly, there's an Iran ceasefire deal in the works. Meanwhile, Trump is sending additional ground troops to the Middle East. And before we get to calls, a quadruple amputee professional cornhole player, which is an impressive enough description on its own, but he's now arrested on a murder charge. He shot somebody, double tap to the head, his friend, with his hands. He doesn't have hands. He used his hand-like nubs to shoot a guy in the head, and then told his other friends to help him bury the body, and they wouldn't do it. So this is like
you're saying he shot someone with a gun.
He did, yes, correct. I don't have where that one's deep in the soundboard somewhere, but I should have pulled it for this show. You're right. He did shoot someone with a gun, which is an anatomical miracle. This guy's actually amazing in what he can do despite his circumstances.
I imagine he has prosthetics because he was also driving at the time.
No,
so.
I don't think he does.
I don't think you're allowed to drive with stubs. I think you have to have.
He probably you're right. He probably does have a peg leg to reach the gas pedal.
They also do some gas pedals with their hands, right? Don't they make some of those?
Maybe.
Yeah, there's
well, he doesn't have hands.
Yeah, but he doesn't have hands. So
he has some kind of finger-like nub protrusion that allows him to pull the trigger on a gun because there's video of it. So we'll get to that.
Wow.
Plus, we'll take calls, voicemails, and emails. If you'd like to call the show live, you can do that through the Discord server linked in the description. Instructions and help available for you on the server. If you'd like to leave a text message or voicemail for the show, we should have some time. In the second half of the show, you can call or text the number in the description in the next hour. Before we get into it, got to say hello to our featured listener-owned business for the evening. That's our friends at Hero Soap Company. When you try Hero Soap Company, not only are you getting a great-smelling, all-natural product, not only can you subscribe and get soap sent straight to your door each month, but you can get signature soaps designed by yours truly. Timberline is the classic, a frosty pine experience where the forest meets the peaks. Double menthol for that high-altitude cooling effect. Or try Old West, highly underrated, people say. The sweet smell of leather and oak barrels will bust open the saloon doors. Or try any of Hero Soap's other fine offerings. Scents rotate regularly, so you can always find something fresh. You can do like I do and subscribe to get a random bar each month. So you get a great smelling surprise in your mailbox and you never have to remember soap at the store again. You might not know Hero Soap offers shampoo and conditioner as well. So even more ways to upgrade your shower. Remember, when you buy Hero Soap, you're not just getting a high quality made in the USA product. You're not just supporting this show, but you're also helping America's finest, too. A portion of every sale benefits military and first responder charities. Listeners of this show get 10% off everything from Hero Soap Company using promo code MCListener at checkout. Let freedom clean with Hero Soap Company. Promo code MCListener for 10% off site-wide. HeroSoapCompany.com. Find all the information on all our special offers at mattchristiansenmedia.com/deals. Deals by listeners for listeners. Hey, Matthew, speaking of the N-word, are you familiar with
I feel like that's a daily, every time I come on, I love that transition.
You know, it's like whenever my friend Joshi is on, we have the topics of this theme, it seems to. And then I realized, no, it's not coincidental. I've never had a show that didn't discuss the word in some capacity.
Yeah.
So it's just unavoidable. But are you familiar with the saga of Shiloh Hendrix in Minnesota? I don't remember if we discussed that.
Yeah, I remember that. And a lot of people my story came on the heels of her story.
Were they? I guess they were about the same time.
Mine happened about a month after, and so it was really interesting. I thought her story obviously was way bigger. Mine didn't make it quite that big, but yeah, I do remember Shiloh.
The context was a little different. You were reading a literary classic, and she was harassed by some Somali people at the park in Rochester, Minnesota, and said, "Fuck you, nigger." So it was a little more confrontational, but. As many people will remember, she was criminally charged for disorderly conduct, even though, as distasteful as some may find the language and all that, the video sure makes it look like she was harassed by the Somali guy, who, by the way, was previously busted for sex crimes with a minor, and the charge was mysteriously dismissed. People forget that part of the story, that the guy who was filming her and going after her last spring was busted for on accusations of raping a 16-year-old that he and this other guy had brought into their home. So what was he doing at the park in the first place? We never really got a lot of information about that. Anyway, the pre-trial stuff for Shiloh Hendrix is ongoing right now because it was disorderly. I don't know if she got one charge per N or what the nature of three separate disorderly conduct charges was. But according to a report on X today, one of those charges has now been dropped, and the lawyer representing Shiloh Hendrix is indeed making First Amendment arguments in a case that will probably have some First Amendment implications. According to this report, Shiloh's lawyer said that her language that day at the park did not qualify as fighting words under the Supreme Court's fighting words doctrine, as in words that would provoke a reasonable person to violence can be criminalized or they exist outside of the First Amendment. The argument here was she didn't do any provocation with these words. In fact, she was provoked by the guy with the phone following her around. And I don't know why one charge was dropped, but not the other two. So there's probably a little more complexity to this. But it sure sounds like the case against Shiloh Hendrix is weakening, which, whatever you think of her as a person, is good from a legal perspective, because this never should have been brought in the first place. She said mean words in public, and it was as simple as that. The trial is set for June 15th. So it's still supposed to happen. That's a trial that I definitely want to watch if it does go through. But do you guys have any Shiloh Hendrix thoughts?
I have just one question. Who is the grieved party in this case? Is it the boy or is it the man filming the video? Because that would be an interesting turn of events. If it
might be both. I think she's accused of saying it to both, but I don't know.
Well, if she needs me to file an amicus brief, I think I could, if it makes it all the way to the Supreme Court, I could certainly lend some expertise to
straight from the farm.
If I remember correctly, wasn't the guy who was filming her challenging her to say it?
Yes. I believe, speaking of things I have deep in the soundboard, he said, "Why don't you have the balls to say it again?" Let me find it. It's, oh man, it's somewhere in here. I don't know. Keep talking. I'll have to dig deep. I know it's in here.
So I also want to know, is there like a the same as the defamation defense, where like truth is an absolute defense to defamation? Like, was there some N-word behavior happening?
Here's the clip you were talking about.
Why don't you have the balls to say it right now again?
Fuck you, nigger.
Right. There was a challenge for one of those drops.
Yeah, you can't. So that's going to eliminate in most jurisdictions any aggravating behavior on her part, because the aggravating end is actually on his end. It's like if you dare somebody to punch you and they punch you.
Yeah, and it sounds like that was part of her lawyer's argument, was this guy is kind of in her face, filming her, daring her to do these things. There's a quote from the lawyer at this hearing: "Someone filming someone with their camera is closer to disorderly conduct versus the use of off-color speech." And
I would like to see a world where they're both protected. Like, it's a public park, so you don't have the assumption of privacy, so you can be filmed. So I don't have a problem with him filming her.
Although,
it's also,
don't you think there's a difference between just like, well, first of all, a guy accused of the types of crimes that he's accused of, I might want to make an exception for filming at a playground. However, I grant your point that in general, filming in a public place ought to be protected. But isn't there a difference between just filming a video generically and like going at a specific person and putting a camera on them and talking to them directly?
It depends on the specific jurisdictions. There are rules for what's known as personal space. So if you are deemed to be within someone's personal space, then it can be actually like assault, essentially, depending on what your specific behavior is. So you can't be like all up in somebody's face about it. But if you're minding your own, you can be filming in public.
We'll see. I'm watching this trial if it gets to trial for sure. Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be like it's two misdemeanor counts. So even if there are like cameras in the courtroom, I don't know how Minnesota handles that. It's probably not something we're all going to be able to tune into a live stream to see or something. But
it just sounds like the majority of the aggravating behavior is on the part of the guy filming.
Shocking, considering his record. And never forget that the prosecutor there in Rochester, Minnesota, dismissed these allegations of raping a 16-year-old against this guy for no reason other than it was, quote, in the interest of justice. I'm sure it was.
So in the interest of justice, we're going to dismiss a rape charge against a minor, but in the interest of justice, we're going to prosecute words.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wouldn't it be funny if it was the same prosecuting attorney who ends up like?
It could be. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe.
Wow.
I assume it's the same DA. Like whether it's assigned to the same specific guy in court, I don't know.
Yeah.
But
wow.
Anyway, another update. I regret to inform you about this case. We have another one has struck again. At least it looks like it. Northeast of Springfield, Missouri on Thursday, Interstate 44 was shut down for a tractor trailer fire after a crash. And unlike previous, I guess we have seen video examples of these crashes before, but this is the most fiery but mostly peaceful example I've seen so far. We have video of the immediate aftermath. And not only is it a very fiery scene as you can see and hear. But this was, yet another turban incident.
I literally just had to pull this man out of his truck. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Is everybody okay?
Yeah, he needs to, that's a lot of fuel.
Yeah.
And a big fire.
Everything's en route.
Okay. Holy crap. What happened?
So this woman is just a witness who goes and talks to him now.
Could you not see
Yeah.
the sun?
Yeah. The shadows are I take my Google,
Uh-huh.
but
Just couldn't see.
Yeah.
I couldn't see either. It might blow up. You think we should get farther back?
Probably should.
I guess he knows what he's doing.
I wouldn't.
I'm glad you're okay.
Bet on that.
That scared me really bad.
Man, he's gonna put that whole thing out with one fire
did it.
extinguisher.
I guess.
Oh, you hit another truck. You
Oh.
hit somebody else. I didn't realize that. I couldn't figure out what happened.
Okay, so we need a translator for this, but it sounds like it's sunset. I assume sunset, maybe sunrise. Strong sun in your eyes. He's saying, I interpret him to mean I tried to Google the route, like I had Google Maps or something, but it didn't work. And he crashed the truck into someone else. No reports of fatalities at the scene that I see. Also, we don't have an identity on the driver. So we don't know, one, his immigration status, if any, and two, we don't know where he got his commercial driver's license, if it came from California like many of these cases do, or not. So we'll have to follow up. But we're about a week removed from this one and not a lot of information. So that could probably tell you a lot right there. The information will come out late and be buried, presumably. Anyway, speaking of regrettable reports, we have another illegal immigrant murder as well. This one is in Chicago. This happened on Thursday. Jose Medina, a 25-year-old Venezuelan illegal immigrant, shot and killed 18-year-old Loyola College freshman Sheridan Gorman while she was walking with her friends near the Toby Prinz Beach on Lake Michigan. So this was late at night, sometime around 1 a.m. The group, this young woman and her friends are walking around. This guy approaches. He's masked. He just starts shooting at them. As far as I've seen, there's not really a clear explanation for why. Gorman, this young woman, tries to run away. She's shot in the back as she flees. She dies at the scene. Medina is charged with first-degree murder and first-degree attempted murder for the rest of the people involved, other felony counts as well. Now, Medina was hospitalized. Unclear how he sustained injury at the scene, but he was supposed to have a court hearing on Monday. Missed it because he was still in the hospital. Injury unclear as far as I've seen in the reporting. Medina was previously in ICE custody and released twice in 2023, despite arrests for shoplifting in Chicago. So he's committing crime in Chicago. He's getting arrested. He goes into ICE custody. They let him out. Of course, this was in the era of the prior presidency. And so this guy comes in under Biden. He's arrested and released under Biden. And Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker blames Donald Trump.
I agree. There have been real failures. Those failures, of course, extend beyond the borders of Illinois. That's their national failures, a failure to have comprehensive immigration reform, a failure of the president to follow his own edict to go after the worst of the worst.
You can fuck off.
And of course, it's not just the immigration implications, the murder implications. It also turns out that this guy was living in publicly funded or publicly subsidized housing for migrants in Chicago because, of course, they all got bused to Chicago by Greg Abbott and other jurisdictions. And he was living at something called the Field House in Rogers Park, which is the park where this happened. City-sponsored shelter for migrants, according to the arrest given on his arrest report. So we are paying for the sheltering in this case as well. But you guys have any thoughts on that one?
Yeah, just to quote, what Matt Walsh has been saying lately, we don't have to live like this. There was something like this that just happened in Seattle recently too. illegal immigrant who was released just in broad daylight, shot a woman and her unborn baby. She was pregnant.
Well, that guy was legal. He was just kooky, supposedly.
Oh, he was legal.
Yeah, he wasn't an immigrant, as far as I know.
Okay.
But
I thought he was. Okay, forgive me if I misspoke.
The case is crazy, though. I posted about it this morning, and it's nuts.
Yeah, and he got out on insanity charges. This guy will probably get out on some sort of insanity charge and not, have to. He really should be put to death. Like, we just need the death penalty back in this country.
I assume Illinois is a non-death penalty state. I don't know. It seems like it's got to be, I would assume. But I don't know for sure. Skulldugger, you want to go to bat for make the case to keep this man alive?
I mean, we can keep him alive, but we don't need to keep him in the country.
That's fair enough. We'll see if he actually gets. He could be the new president of Venezuela. They need a guy. Send him there.
I do agree with Pritzker on this one. This was a failure of the Oval Office. It's just he got the name wrong.
Well, it is, yeah, that's true. And it is interesting that he says, oh, you said you were going to get the worst of the worst. You didn't get this guy. I look forward to your cooperation with ICE to get the worst of the worst in Chicago and broader Illinois very soon. Sure. I'm glad you have a change of heart. Yeah,
I imagine you agree that the whole state should be open up for ICE operations to get the worst of the worst, right? No. Would you agree to that, Mr. Pritzker? Because I don't think you would.
We'll see. We'll see if he goes Renee Good and Alex Preddy when they come to Chicago very soon.
Like, what? The moment they find out that somebody who commits a crime who's illegal, they should just literally hand them over to ICE the next day. Or like within the same hour. They should just do it.
In a proper country, we used to have such structure and order. And now we have these jurisdictions that don't do that. And that's the thing is even beyond what he's saying about Trump failing to get the worst of the worst, they've already arrested this guy in Illinois for being the worst of the worst. Now it's shoplifting. It's not the worst crime ever. But to your point, you could have assisted in removing the worst of the worst, his additional crime beyond his presence here, but you didn't. So it's very bizarre to point the finger at the other one.
Yeah, it's like you have the puck and your teammate is like literally right in front of the goal. It's like a tap in. You just got to like slowly pass it to him. It's an easy goal.
But they're not on the same team. They actually play for the other team. Yeah.
Yep, that's a good point.
Anyway, we were talking about Markwayne Mullin before live, and he is officially your DHS Secretary now. He is the new guy in charge to clean up places like Chicago, despite the opposition of Homeland Security Committee Chair Rand Paul, who was the only Republican to oppose him. Markwayne Mullin, the vote was basically party line. It was 54-45. Rand Paul, the only Republican to vote against his confirmation. 2 Democrats actually voted to confirm him, Based Frankenstein, John Fetterman, and Martin Heinrich from New Mexico as well. So hopefully the grandstanding last week was worth it for Rand Paul. Justice for Rand. We can't have anybody snickering at all that Rand Paul got beaten up. God forbid. I didn't snicker before. I never did. But after that show from Rand Paul last week, now I snicker a little. It damaged my view of him, and I need it restored. But Markwayne Mullin is going to take over March 31st, which is Tuesday. So we'll see where he decides to direct our nation's immigration enforcement and the other responsibilities of DHS. But you guys have any Markwayne commentary?
I'm rooting for him. I hope he. I mean, there's a lot of work that department needs to do. Quickly. There's PR nightmares everywhere. There's a lot of operations going on, and there's a lot of stuff that needs to get cleaned up, preferably before the midterms get into full swing.
Is it too early for him to make a joke horseback riding video while he's wearing full makeup and maybe a wig too, and a cowboy hat?
That should be the first thing he did. He should be working on that right now.
And Kristi Noem is a special envoy to something that doesn't matter. I forget what her new job is, but she's not leaving. She's doing something else. So
that picture, he looks like a solid masculine figure. Like, I don't know if that is that cauliflower ear. Like, does he do?
Yeah, because he's a fighter. I don't know how he was a MMA fighter briefly, but at least competitively. But I don't know how much he does it just recreationally for his own fun.
No, that's a badge of honor right there, man. Hopefully he brings that type of energy to just kick some ass.
He personally beats everybody upon arrest. Yeah. Well, something's going to have to change for the funding with DHS, because even though ICE is fully funded, at least for now, the rest of DHS is not. It remains in limbo. We still have this partial government shutdown. TSA staffing remains short. A lot of airports bogged down with long lines. ICE is helping in some capacity at about a dozen airports, but of course it remains a giant mess, and the Senate is still trying to figure out a deal to fund the department to end the shutdown. There was supposedly a new deal in the works, but honestly, after reading about it today, I'm even more confused about what's going on. Democrats, Senate Republicans came up with a deal. Democrats oppose it. Trump opposes it. Whatever's going to happen has a long way to go. The proposal yesterday was to fund most of the department, as in everything in DHS except for ICE, so that TSA can go back to work and get paid and all that, everybody else who works for DHS. And then members of the Senate can negotiate what sort of reforms for ICE Democrats want, including no more masks for ICE agents and wearing body cams, which everybody should agree to, because I want to watch the ICE agent body cam video, and that's good for the truth anyway. There's some other stuff that they're asking for. But Democrats are saying they don't want to fund ICE at all without reforms, even though, as far as I understand, if this proposal were to pass, it doesn't fund ICE in any new way. It's saying no money for ICE until we negotiate the reforms. They're still not agreeing to it. Trump doesn't want to sign anything until the Save America Act is passed. Of course, that is the law to, or the bill to require proof of citizenship and ID to vote. And that is still stalled in the Senate as well. And Republicans, beyond this plan, which doesn't seem to have the support necessary to get any movement, there's also a push from some to try to put all this together in a reconciliation package. We're going to take the Save America Act, the ID for voting bill, and we're going to package it together with ICE funding, and we're going to push it through the reconciliation process, which allows them to get it through with 50 votes, a simple majority, instead of the filibuster-proof 60. The problem there is that everything that passes through reconciliation has to have some sort of budgetary impact, and that's up traditionally to the Senate parliamentarian, who's going to say the Save America Act stuff doesn't really have anything to do with budget implications, so we're not going to allow you to do that. So it sounds like Senate Republicans are not really on board with that, even Mike Lee, who's been pushing this in the Senate. So no relief, bottom line, no relief for your airports in sight right now, as far as I understand, but something's going to have to happen, because the Congress is right about to go on their Easter break at the end of the week for a couple weeks, and I don't think they're going to just leave and allow this nonsense to continue. But you could do what I do and just stay home and don't fly anywhere. Of course, if you have
Dude,
to go
I'm so
places.
happy I don't have to fly anywhere. But
yeah,
I hope they get it figured out by the summer, because you got the World Cup. Can you imagine these airports under this condition? Millions of people coming to the country. It's just going to be 10 times worse.
I had forgotten about that. When is it? June, July? I don't even know.
June, July.
Okay. Yeah, that's going to be a mess.
Awful.
Yeah. I haven't been, I actually don't think I've been to an airport for I think it's been over a year. So I don't even know what's going on out there. Either of you fly recently at all?
No. I stopped flying a while ago. It's just it's a service that continues to get worse, although it gets more expensive. So you pay more for a worse service as time goes on, and I just gave up on it. I'm done.
I haven't looked at airfare either, but I assume with oil prices going the way they are, airfare, if it hasn't bumped already, has got to bump sometime soon.
Yeah.
So to your point, costly, infuriating, poor service. At this point, wherever I got to go, I'd rather just drive. But I'm not going anywhere far either. So we've also one of
the things I wanted to say about this, this also brings up something I've been talking about for a while right now, is what is the fear of the Republicans losing in the midterms? They already can't do anything. So they control both. It's not like they're competing where it's the Republicans have one of the houses and they're competing with the other house in Congress. They have the entire Congress. and they can't get anything done.
I also don't the rules of the reconciliation.
The risk of them losing.
Yeah, the rules of the reconciliation process I don't really understand either. That is to say, I get why the Save America Act can't be passed with a bare majority without undoing the filibuster rules. Why can't you pass a DHS budget using the reconciliation process, 50 votes, and just tell Democrats to cram it? But there's got to be some reason why they can't do that. Or is it just political cowardice? I don't know. There's some process piece that I don't understand there.
Yeah, I like it. The whole like not funding ICE is absolutely ridiculous, and like there should be no negotiations on that.
Well,
that has to be a non-starter.
The great irony of this entire partial shutdown is Democrats are all mad about ICE, and they want all these ICE reforms. ICE is the one piece of DHS, maybe not the only piece, but it is a piece of DHS that is fully funded through the big beautiful bill last year.
Yeah.
So the shutdown has not impacted ICE at all. In fact, they're helping at the airports. And so their hissy fit is just inconveniencing the average American while doing nothing to reform the immigration enforcement that they're supposedly mad about.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And I'm me personally, I don't care that they wear masks. I understand why they do it. These guys have one of the most difficult jobs in all of law enforcement, kind of in the world. Theirs is one of the most risky law enforcement jobs in the entire world. Like these guys go to war with the Mexican cartels. Like the last thing you want is a Mexican cartel knowing your identity when you're trying to engage in law enforcement acts against them.
Or the average pink hair, Renee Good, Alex Preddy type who are going to devote their lives to doxing you and just ruining your home life too. I mean, I want transparency in law enforcement, and I think generally that's a worthwhile pursuit. But do we have any doubt what these people are going to do once ICE agents are more identifiable to them? They're not going to, well, I'm going to sue him in a court of law and hold him accountable or something like that. No, they're going to go straight to the guy's house and they're going to harass his family. We know that's what's going to happen.
Well, if you start unmasking these guys, it'll defund itself because nobody will do that job if they have to do it without anonymity. Yeah. So ICE will just disappear.
But that's what they want. Yeah, exactly.
That's what they want. Yeah. That's why they want the masks off. It has nothing to do with their conduct can be exactly the same with whether they're masked or not. Like it's not going to change. It's not like them being masks is what emboldens them to do their job the way that they do their job. They do their job the way they do their job because it's a very difficult job, and they cannot be take half measures. They have to be fully committed to doing what needs to be done.
The only way around this is to require that every acting or every active ICE agent is an active carrier of COVID as well. Thus, the mask is required, and it would be irresponsible for them to be out in public without the mask on. I think Democrats will agree to that. We'll have Dr. Fauci sign on, and then they'll have no choice. But anyway, also have updates on the Iran front. There's supposedly an Iran ceasefire deal in the works, or at least Trump has made some sort of 15-point offer to Iran on a ceasefire deal. Now, the plan was reported by the New York Times, who they say they've not seen the plan, but they spoke with two sources with knowledge, and this plan, they say, was delivered to the Iranians through Pakistan, which is acting as a mediator in this conflict. Apparently, based on reporting, the terms of the offer include Iran must dismantle its three main nuclear sites. These are the places that we bombed last summer: Natanz, Isfahan, and Fordow. Apologies for probable mispronunciations there. Iran has to stop any uranium enrichment. They have to surrender or hand over the existing enriched uranium they have in their possession. And they have to open the Strait of Hormuz to any and all international shipping. They have to stop funding proxy groups like the Houthis and all their friends who blow stuff up. They have to stop attacks in the region, which have been ongoing. And in exchange for these things, the incentives the United States is offering include a 30-day ceasefire to continue negotiations, civilian nuclear support so they can have energy but not weapons, and sanctions relief as well. So there's economic incentives. Now, right now, there's no indicate. Well, there's mixed indication that from Iran that they are considering an offer or negotiating. Trump says the negotiations are happening right now, and he's naming the people involved. It's Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner, Marco Rubio, J.D. Vance, and others. Iran's foreign minister says the talks are happening, but their parliament speaker said there are no direct talks, and then they have a military spokesman who's saying the fighting will go on. So I guess it just depends on which Iranian you ask. But I would assume, to me, it seems like it's a question of what the nature of the talks is, not whether the talks are happening. I doubt that Trump is making up a story about talking to people, but how receptive are they? And, well, how optimistic should we be about potentially a ceasefire and maybe a stopping in the fighting here? What do you think?
Well, this is one of the issues that you run into when you completely decapitate all the leadership of a country, and then you try to negotiate with that country. Who are you negotiating with? Like, who's in charge here? If I want to talk to the manager, who's the manager here?
Yeah, it's a face on a piece of cardboard. We already saw him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who's in Moscow? Apparently, theoretically.
Is that what they're saying now? He got refuge in Moscow?
Yeah, because apparently there wasn't a good trauma center left in Iran that they were comfortable with him being in. So he was airlifted to Moscow.
I didn't even hear that.
Supposedly that's where it is.
Who is that?
Was dead.
So are they saying? Are you talking about the supreme leader that supposedly died? Is he actually alive?
The new one, his son, his gay son.
Okay,
yeah,
his gay
cardboard son. Did you see the bit with the cardboard, Matthew?
I didn't, man. I haven't.
You're on the farm.
Much time online.
No, that's good. You're living the proper life. But after after we go and bomb Iran, the supreme leader, the older guy, is taken out.
Yeah,
and then the assembly of experts, their group that decides their next leader, they declare his son Mojtaba the new supreme leader, but they won't show him. They actually brought out a cardboard cutout of him. Really, it was just his face on a cardboard silhouette, and they celebrated him. And then there were reports out that he's gay too, so he is a gay cardboard Ayatollah, and nobody has seen him. But now Skulldugger's telling me he's in Moscow, which is news to me. I hadn't heard that yet.
Isn't that like worthy of death under like Islamic Sharia law?
He kept it a good secret. Yeah. He had a wife and kids, so
that's a good cover up.
Right. But does he have to throw himself off the building is the joke. Yeah.
Well, so far, the only source that I have even seen to him being gay is Trump. So I don't know. I don't know where this information actually comes from.
It was, the source was a New York Post report, but their sources were, anonymous sources with knowledge say. Yeah. So who knows? Although there was some maybe credibility lended to it, whatever the term would be. Some credibility given to it by a CBS report that there was a second CBS report. I forget exactly what it said. Something like that it was sort of a known secret about Mojtaba because he was so late to marry as well and have children. So people in Iran have known this for some time. But again, it's like, who's saying that? Somebody in Iran, and we won't tell you who that is. Anyway.
It'd be cool if gas would just go down. Over here, I think it was just under $5 where I'm at, but I accidentally paid for premium. Actually, I misclicked the button and ended up getting premium gas for $5.25. But I see diesel going for $6.50.
That's crazy. You got to drive over to Idaho is what you got to do. It's probably $1 cheaper across the state line.
Yeah, we also have a crazy state tax on oil here, so
I bet.
Yeah, kind of sucks. So do we. Yeah, we're up near $6 right now.
Jeez.
Premium around here is like $4, so I don't know what kind of state taxes you guys have on.
It's like 60 cents
but
per
it's
gallon.
Gotta be crazy. Yeah. Wow. Okay. We also. It appears that Trump is prepping for the negotiations not to go great. Although you always plan for the worst, so I don't want to be too alarmist, but we are actually sending additional troops to the Middle East, according to reports. About 1,000 soldiers from the Army's 82nd Airborne are deploying in the coming days to an undisclosed location in the Middle East. This brigade will be a ready unit for quick response if ground troops are needed in the region. These soldiers are now joining 2 Marine groups already deployed to the region. So right now there's nothing to say that the infantry is going to be used in any capacity, but Trump has also spoken about the possibility of taking Iran's enriched uranium by force. We know that's a subject of the negotiation as reported. Hey, you have to surrender your uranium. Please hand it over. What happens when they say no? I would assume maybe you start thinking about ground operations to do that, whether you use the 82nd Airborne or the Marines or Special Forces or whatever you're doing here, or just things get crazy and you need ground troops. So no reason to think we're in a ground war right now, because we're not, but we do have ground troops ready to go if necessary, and we are increasing the ground troop presence as we speak. So what do you guys think about that?
I'd say the most logical place for deployment would be around the Strait, because that should be the number one strategic goal, is reopening the Strait of Hormuz, because as soon as you take that's the only card that Iran has left to play right now. They can no longer wage any type of military war, so they are currently engaged in an economics war, and it's actually working fairly well for them right now.
I'm confused about the nature of the closure, and I know they're lobbing missiles at all sorts of. They're lobbing missiles at Israel and other targets in the Middle East, and I know that you got all these shipping tankers in the Strait just kind of hanging out, not really moving. But have they actually blown up or attacked ships in the Strait, or is it just that everyone's afraid that they will do it?
There's also supposedly naval mines.
Oh yeah, I heard that too. They were going to play Minesweeper. So
yeah,
did they actually do that, or they were just threatening it?
Well, right now, it's supposedly the mines are in place, and Iran is the only one who knows where they are. Iran has been able to still traverse the strait, so they're actually getting their ships out, mainly because they need to be exporting oil to China. China they purchase 80% of Iran's oil.
Yeah, that makes sense. Do we actually, we don't, well, now I'm confused too, because there was something about lifting of, we consume some of their oil, do we not? Because weren't there sanctions lifted recently to that effect? Or did I make that up? Did I make that up in my head, that we reduced sanctions in order to free up oil to lower the cost of the oil that went up because we started blowing up Iran? Or am I completely off? I can't remember.
Well, I think I don't necessarily think that it's Iranian oil, but Iran is not the only one who transports oil through the Strait.
Yeah.
They are now, because they've taken control of the Strait. So there's other countries in that area like Kuwait and probably even Saudi Arabia that use the Strait for exporting oil. And we definitely purchase oil from Saudi Arabia.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for clarifying my international relations mess there, because I only have like half an idea of what I'm talking about in that context. Anyway, okay, on to stuff that, well, I mean, this stuff matters. I shouldn't diminish it. It definitely matters that we're in a war, on the cusp of war, all that. But frankly, I'm dying to talk about the story of this quadruple amputee murderer. Because this is a meme crime of the week. And this case, likewise, is actually very serious. A man called Dayton Weber, he, again, is a quadruple amputee. He has partial arms, no hands, partial legs, no feet. He's also a professional cornhole player. Sorry, do you have a thought?
Can we get a full picture of what this guy looks like? Do they have a full body photo?
Yes. I've got videos. I've got the whole thing. So just you wait. But the fact that he's a professional cornhole player, and I enjoy cornhole. I don't know about you guys, but that is the go-to backyard summer game for me. And I'm not very good at it. I guarantee this guy could beat me at it, which is pretty incredible. But perhaps more amazing than his quadruple amputee cornhole skills is that he's now accused of shooting a guy dead on Sunday, and he was driving a car while doing it. So here's the news story.
His name is Dayton James Weber, a 27-year-old quadriplegic amputee and professional cornhole player. This all started around 10:30 last night when La Plata police officers were flagged down by two witnesses near Radio Station Road. Charles County Sheriff's investigators say Weber was the driver when he shot and killed his front seat passenger, then asked those in the back seat to help get rid of the body. They refused, got out of the car, and alerted police. Weber took off with the victim in the car, identified as 27-year-old Bradrick Wells. 2 hours later and about 15 miles away, Wells's body was found dumped in someone's front yard in Charlotte Hall, Maryland. Soon after, Weber's car was tracked to a gas station in Charlottesville, Virginia. He was found at a hospital nearby and arrested after his release. We're told that all four men in that Tesla SUV were friends, got into some sort of argument before that shooting happened. As you heard, Weber is currently in Virginia. He's going to be extradited back here to Charles County to face charges of first and second degree murder.
What the is this?
Okay. Before we examine further, I have a sampling of jokes that I stole from tweets if you guys want to hear them.
Let's go.
Absolutely.
People are absolutely stumped how he did this. He was unarmed and dangerous. Police arrested him after he refused commands to put his hands up.
Oh.
His chances at trial are low, since he doesn't have a leg to stand on.
Boo.
You guys got any other ones? Any other one-liners?
Oh, man. I just want to know what this man would be capable of if he had two arms and two legs.
He would probably
what would he
be
could probably be like the most like Jason Bourne status.
Wild West gunslinger, like crazy assassin. And seriously speaking, the murder's awful. I mean, he like double tapped his friend sitting in the passenger seat. And then, as you heard, he told his other friends, hey, you guys going to help me bury this body or what? Like, no, dude, I'm getting out. See you later.
One of the big questions I have is what is wrong with the other three people in that car that this is the guy driving?
I guess maybe he's very skilled like he is with cornhole and shooting. I don't know. Or
how did
maybe
he pull the trigger? I
have a video for that too. But whatever happened here, and of course it's very terrible, this guy is genuinely inspirational. He had some kind of bacterial infection as a baby, which that's what required the amputation of all his limbs. They had to do that to save his life. And he's still accomplished a lot beyond just this professional cornholing. But here's sort of a biographical piece about him.
I'm Dayton Weber, and I'm a professional cornhole player. I had gotten a bacterial infection when I was just 10 months old. The infection that got into my arms and legs was called Streptococcus pneumoniae. They had actually given me a 3% chance of living, and the only way that they were able to save me was by getting the infections out of my system. They had to amputate my arms and legs to keep me alive. I'm thankful for the Lord and giving those surgeons the power that he did that day to be able to make such a miracle happen. Inspiration to me is a daily driver. I believe that God put me on this planet for one reason. Everybody's got their reasons for being here, but my reason I feel like is to inspire other people just by me doing my daily task. I want them to have the sense of I can go out there and do anything I put my mind to. If they say, I want to go out and become a pro cornhole player now, I want them to look at me and be like, I can do it. I know I can. Anybody can play, anybody can win.
You talk shit to me, I can kill you. I know I can do it. And that's what happened. But this stuff is actually incredible to me, not just in his case, but when people lose limbs or lose abilities, but gain abilities despite it, or it's like if you're blind and you have super hearing or super smell, or what he's been able to do despite his physical limitations is actually incredible. I'm fascinated by that before he killed his friend, you know?
I still want to know how he pulls the trigger.
Oh, okay. Let's get into that.
Like, but yeah, I agree with you. It's like I can't. I suck at cornhole. Like, I don't know. It is incredible. Like, just the way he's like able to like do all that stuff. I don't know.
Well, check this out. He also hunts, and he can climb into deer stands. There's a video published on his social media, and I sped it up a little bit because we're not going to watch the whole thing here. But he can climb just like a regular ladder despite his nub legs and arms, you know?
Dude.
Wow.
And then he shoots a rifle here. Sitting at a rested rifle there.
I like that second shot a little better, don't you?
But as demonstrated in this murder, he can also shoot handguns. So this is the moment that you've been waiting for, man. This was posted on his social media. He can handle, it looks like a Beretta, or I don't know exactly what the gun is, but he can handle it pretty well. Check this out.
What is he using to pull the trigger?
See, I think he's
Does he have
just
like a tiny little finger?
Look, there's like a little nub in the trigger guard there. Like just enough that he can, I don't know if he pull, like if his
he curls
shoulder
it in there
or what.
That's insane.
Well,
but
he should get sponsored by SIG because you don't even need to pull the trigger.
Yeah, maybe a little bit too late for that endorsement, but previously he could have been eligible. Yeah, so I assume that's basically what he did. Although I'm baffled by, like, clearly he has the capability to kill a person based on the way he handled a gun right there. But if you were in the seat with him and you're having an argument, it's getting really heated. You know, like if a guy's got a gun in his center console or even on his person and it's chambered, it's ready to go. Like if he's competent and good with a gun, he could pull that out and shoot you dead in a second. But I guess my question is, how quick on the draw is this guy? He's apparently quick enough to surprise his friend in this argument, which I find surprising. When you're watching that video, you see him handling the gun, he can do it, but it still takes him a second. He got the magazine in there and he did all that. So maybe he had it ready to go, but it just seems like the lead up necessary for him to actually double tap you in the head. How were you surprised by that? How did that happen?
Well, and he requires two hands on it. It's like he can't keep one nub on the wheel and hold the other and point with the other one. Like he's probably had to take two hands off the wheel.
He's got to have those elbows pinched together to do it.
And was the car moving? Was he in motion while he's doing this?
I don't know. I don't know. So a lot of how questions remain.
You got to imagine that he would be pretty easy to disarm.
Those are the ones I'm looking for. He was disarmed as a baby. Yeah. Okay. But I'm not sure what potential penalty he faces. Now, he is charged with first-degree murder. What are his charges? I might...
I think she said first and second degree.
Yeah. Let me pull it up here. Also... I want to hear the conversation with his friends about burying the body or getting rid of the body. They didn't help him, which is correct. You shouldn't help him hide the body. But he just dumped the body off later. He was not able to dig the hole necessary to bury it. So he just dumped it in a yard.
That's also very impressive. Like hauling the body out of the car.
I assume maybe he like opened the door and shoved it out. It sounds like it was just left on the roadside, you know? I guess.
Man. There's nothing this guy can't do.
Other than get away with it. He wasn't successful in that way. He actually was at the hospital also. And I'm not clear. if he was beat up did he go to the hospital because he was concerned about his own mental health or something? I don't know. Or did he actually get physically injured in this encounter? That I have not seen, but you're right. He is charged with first and second degree murder. And Virginia, I don't know what he's eligible for in terms of sentencing on this.
So that's the way a lot of jurisdictions, if you're charged with first degree murder, they will also charge you with second degree murder.
Is that just they can bring both charges in case they're not able to prove the first, or what?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it would seem so. A difference in this case would be the premeditation.
Yes.
Or okay. So, but there's clearly an argument ahead of time. Mm-hmm. I guess it's a question of how much premeditation is necessary. How long did he plot this, or was it just he was very pissed off about the argument in the moment? Would be the relevant legal question, I guess. But, and then there's like, what are his prison accommodations and what, like, and man, just not that he isn't as deserving of justice as anybody who commits an act like this, but to go through what he's gone through and to overcome what he has and to throw it all away because you got pissed off at your friend or something and shot him in the head. And now you're going to be in prison. You're going to be a quad amputee prisoner, presumably for the rest of your life or whatever's going to happen to him. Not a lot of life stories like the life story of Dayton Webber. That's for sure. This is one of one, I would assume.
Yeah.
But
that is
crazy.
Absolutely crazy.
Anyway, we are right about at the top of the hour. You guys have any more thoughts on this one, or we'll get into some calls?
No,
I just want to see the memes. There's probably more memes to come.
Yeah, there were so many videos of him doing all these crazy different activities, and just the things he can do physically are just remarkable. So I was watching I can't believe he's able to do all the stuff he can do. He lives, as far as I can tell, like a pretty normal life and is able to do the things that any normal person would do. So
you got one comment on YouTube that when you have no hands, most things are premeditated.
Keep them coming. Appreciate them.
I mean,
right.
He doesn't just live he lives a more active life than I do.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Could he kick a guy's ass without the gun? That's the next question. Could he just beat you up straight up? Maybe. I don't know. I wouldn't doubt it.
In prison.
He's gonna have to. He's gonna have to test his combat skills. He's gonna have to join a Nazi gang for protection. It's gonna get really weird, you know. Anyway, okay. Let's hop into Discord. I think you guys are already in there, so let's pull Nomad in. Nomad is ready to go. Let me unmute myself. Nomad, are you there?
Yes, sir.
What's on your mind, sir?
Well, I just wanted to talk about a fun way to actually be part of a regulated militia. And I mentioned Project Appleseed in an email to you earlier this week. And I'm doing that again with my son on May 2nd.
So I do have that email in my list of emails for later in the show, but it's good to talk to you about it because I don't know what Project Appleseed is. So can you tell me what that is?
Yeah, it's basically a marksmanship program run by the Revolutionary War Veterans Association.
Okay.
And what they do is there's a great marksmanship. They teach you how to be a good rifleman, but there's also a lot of discussion of what started the Revolutionary War back in 1775. Mm-hmm. And it can be done pretty inexpensively as far as the shooting. You don't need an expensive rifle. You can do it with a 22 at one of the 25-meter ranges.
And I know this was your question in the email was in the context of your son as well, but this isn't like a kid's thing. It's everybody.
Right. It's yeah, my son is a teenager, but I'm sure that kids, as long as they're old enough to use a 22 responsibly, I haven't seen any minimum ages as far as participation. I assume it would be whatever the host range has as their minimum.
Is there like a website or a place people can go to learn more about the organization?
Yeah. It is appleseedinfo.org.
Okay.
I believe. Let me double check real fast. Yeah, it's appleseedinfo.org. Appleseedinfo is one word, no spaces.
Okay. And it's not it's not just gun. Is it strictly gun stuff, or is it is there other activities or other things that they do?
Oh, at the shoots are at a gun range, so it's
Okay,
primarily learning to shoot.
Okay, so it's a gun organized group. It's not, there aren't other things that they're doing or other activities if you're not a gun person, I guess.
Right. Well, there's no reason I can imagine why somebody couldn't hang out, but it's really centered around the shooting at the shoots.
Okay.
But there's also a forum that you can join from their website, and basically they want to part of their mission statement is they want to reignite the flame of liberty in the hearts of Americans.
Sounds like a plan to me. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for telling me about it. I have not heard of it, so that's good for people to check out. Project Appleseed. What's the website again?
Appleseedinfo.org.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. Appreciate your call as well.
And yeah, no problem. And it's not expensive to set up a Ruger 1022 or a Savage Model 64 or any of a variety of other 22s that are pretty accurate just to learn on. And they also have center fire events too. You can bring a 223 if you want to spend 50 cents a round on ammo instead of 80 cents a round.
Yeah. I used to, when I first got into shooting, I thought like 22s are toys or something. They're not toys, although they sometimes can be toy-like. But as far as a fun shooting experience that has a lot of practical benefit as well, 22 is the way to go, man. No finer way to shoot if you're just getting started, for sure. All right, man. I appreciate your call. Thanks for
have
that.
a great one. Bye.
You guys ever heard of this Project Appleseed? That was new to me.
Sounds pretty cool, though, by the way he explained it.
Yeah. You're going to have a gun range on your farm?
I think shooting is allowed here. I don't know if it's wise. So, I do have neighbors in all directions, even though we're still spread out. So,
what kind of acreage do you have? You don't have to answer.
Close to 10.
Private, but...
Yeah, it's close to 10.
Okay, yeah, that's kind of the spot where it's like that's not really enough to do your own sort of gun range thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
there's a couple spots where like you could shoot like into a mountain, sort of like a big hill.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you set up a couple targets behind it.
I always felt like that's how I'll know I've arrived one day is if I could actually shoot off my own porch. Then I feel like I've made it as a man. Now I'm nowhere near that, but maybe someday if I can do that one day,
that would be cool.
If I can sit in my rocking chair and shoot cans down yonder, I'll feel like I've made it as a man, as a father, and as an American as well. But okay, Turles is up next. Let's talk to Turles. Turles, are you there?
Yeah, hello. How are you guys doing?
Ooh, I got to turn you down. You're so loud. Your voice is so nice and clear.
Oh, sorry about that. I can turn down my own gain if you want.
It sounds good. I just have you way too loud. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Alrighty. Well, it's hard to know what to talk about these days between all the crime and the fraud and the immigration and the foreign conflicts and the general pallor of godlessness in the world.
Yeah, take your pick. What's your degeneracy du jour?
I think what's kind of irritating me at the moment is a combination of things. It's the panicans and the anti-America quadrant of our side, as it were, or what people who kind of pretend to be on our side. Maybe you've seen some of those clips floating around of Tucker Carlson sort of giving glowing reviews of Islamic nations and China. And
I saw the clips floating around, but then like some of the quotes were not quotes. They were like
there was some confusion or misinterpretation, I guess you could say, that some people were accusing him of glorifying Sharia, and while he didn't exactly glorify it, he's made light of it several times. He keeps, in that really annoying laugh of his, sort of mocking the idea that Sharia, it's so, come on, that's not.
That's not bad. That's a decent impression. Better than I could do. I'll allow it. I haven't heard what he said, and I don't watch a lot of Tucker's show personally, so I don't know what he said or what whether the commentary is fair and accurate or not.
Yeah, I think fewer and fewer people do, and it's not, that's for good reason, because of kind of the effect that I'm talking about is people are getting the impression, and I think correctly, that he's just not very pro-America at this point, which really, brings up the question, I guess, of what does it mean to be patriotic, Yeah,
I guess I would ask what's the basis for that accusation? And I know he's had a lot of controversial takes, but why anti-American as opposed to like, if you wanted to steel man his perspective, that he's doing the most patriotic thing, which is dissent, Right.
So, and one of the things that he said that was really controversial recently was that we are going to have to share power. We are going to have to decline somewhat while Russia and China increase.
Okay.
And he did this in kind of a sly way. He kind of straddles the fence between saying it should happen and it's going to happen, or that it's inevitable that it does happen because they have so many resources and such a big population or whatever. But
I can't have him on the fence. The fence is mine. He has to get off.
Yeah. So so I'm of the opinion that he's being more prescriptive than descriptive about this, and
okay.
So I just think that is profoundly un-American or anti-American. Philosophically speaking, I think you are either increasing or you're decreasing, and I think right now it's interesting. Maybe you saw the polls recently that say more Republicans now identify as MAGA than ever before. This is actually a high watermark for Republicans identifying as MAGA.
I could interpret that positively or negatively, though. Positively, you could say that the party is unifying on a common set of principles, which might be a good thing. Negatively, it could mean that you're shedding people who aren't part of the Trump club, and that matters when you want to earn people of more independent mindset for winning elections, of course.
There's certainly a question about that. Just anecdotally, I will say that I have been pretty Trump skeptical since he came on the scene. But I am just my N of one example is that I'm actually more pro-Trump now than I think I ever have been before. And I think a lot of that comes from the fact that I think he is, he really is the standard bearer for America is on the march. America is going forward.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
What do you think he's done better this term versus his messaging and what he was going after in his first term that you've now come to appreciate?
Well, there were a couple of things in the first term. It definitely seemed like he really didn't know what he was doing, to be honest. He kind of surrounded himself with a lot of people who were political insiders. And a good example, just one straight upgrade would be the Secretary of State, right? And he started out with Rex Tillerson in the first term, and
I don't even remember who the hell that is.
Right, Rex Tillerson. Who is Rex Tillerson?
Was that his Secretary of State for most of the term? Who was it?
Mike Pompeo was the second.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Pompeo.
Yeah.
How long was Tillerson in there? I don't even remember.
But he didn't accomplish much, and he wasn't very impressive. And Marco Rubio, on the other hand, is very capable and impressive.
He's the president of every other country now.
Exactly. Yeah. And I would say that in many respects, even though I'm a little Vance skeptical, he's still an upgrade over Mike Pence, who is a bit of a squish, and you have other guys like Pete Hegseth, Mr. Jerusalem Cross, all that. What's his face? Our ice guy, Tom Homan. Yeah. And I feel like the vision is clear. And people don't know this, but the wall is actually the construction of the wall is well underway. Immigration is has illegal immigration has reversed in larger quantities than it has in who knows how long. We have a lot of people self-deporting. We have a lot of deportations. Even though people like to say Obama had more deportations than Trump, but it's like, yeah, but more were coming in too. So at this point, we have we have more net exits basically. And if you heard about the H-1B thing, it's like they're not even approving anybody anymore for H-1Bs. They're all just kind of trapped in India. And so there's a lot of interesting stuff going on there. I feel like Trump is taking the China threat seriously. He's isolating them economically. I posted on the Discord channel a day or two ago how they lost like trillions or something in their stock market. It was crazy.
Oh yeah, I did see that. It was a lot of red with the the happy Leonardo DiCaprio from Django.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, thank you for the encouragement.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, I'm for it. It's I think these are good developments. I don't like the panicans. I don't like the negativity.
I'm trying to resist the panican allure. Frankly, I'm more down. I'm more worried with what's going on in terms of our strategy with the Iran war and some other international relations. I'm worried about the economic impacts of oil and the rest of it. I'm trying to be patient so I don't just scream the sky is falling. But I'm worried. Yeah.
This panic about Iran is so weird. We're 3 weeks into a massive assault against a major world player. Like 3 weeks as far as military campaigns go is nothing. That is still the opening
Houthis
salvo.
8 weeks last year, nothing happened.
Right.
I forgot about
we're
that.
3 weeks and their military capabilities are down like 80%.
Those pesky Houthis, man, they never go away.
Yeah. So don't panic. We aren't at a crisis just yet.
No, it's going fine.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for the call, man. I appreciate it. And have a great night.
See you later.
Okay. We have room for one more caller, but we don't have anybody in the server. So if someone wants to hop in and call in live, I'll leave that open. Tim, if you can just DM me or message me or just say something in the Discord server, we can bring one more person in if they want to call. Otherwise, we will move on to some other stuff. But before we do, hey, have you considered joining the MC Club? Well, you should. And here's why. Hey, if you enjoy the show, please consider supporting the show by becoming a member of the MC Club. For as little as $1 a month, you will enjoy a series of exclusive perks, including ad-free videos and podcasts, video calls, and a community Discord server with me and other listeners, loot box giveaways with channel merchandise, your name in the credit roll after videos and streams, and much more. But most importantly, you will help keep the duct tape production alive and independent from all those sinister forces of control. Join the MC Club at mattchristiansenmedia.com/support. Linked in the description. Let's grab a couple of super chats before we hop into some voicemails and emails. I don't know if usually I have the super chats popping up on the screen. I don't know if that's working tonight because we have some come in that did not show on screen. So my apology if, plugins that rely on third-party this and that and connections to various things on the internet. It's all part of the duct tape operation. Sometimes it doesn't go right. So anyway, let's start on Rumble here. Ninja Kitty says, Part 1, today's Too Crazy for Trial video further illustrates Democrats are not just indifferent to the unborn, but demon people who spit in the face of the unborn, the mother and her now widowed husband. Yeah, Matt, this is the case that you were talking about. Yeah. Or Matthew, I forget. We have too many Matts around here. And I actually forget which one you prefer. As far as I recall, they were both acceptable, right?
They're both acceptable, but when we're together, I can just go by Matthew to make the distinction.
You can carry the Matthew burden. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was the case you were talking about. And you might have seen there were no charges for the baby in that case. It was the woman was 8 months pregnant. And no charges. As far as I understand, the maybe about the law in Washington. I don't know a lot about why this played out the way it did. From what I read, it sounded like the prosecutor there in King County, like Washington law doesn't say that that babies aren't people in that way. It's just that the prosecutor is presumably abortion friendly or had her own political reasons. I'm not entirely clear why they balked at bringing charges for the baby, other than they said that to have a manslaughter charge, the guy had to know that she was pregnant, and they had no evidence to say that he knew that.
Yeah, it's just disgusting all around. I remember there was a case in Colorado a long time ago, and there's been others since, where if you murder a pregnant woman, it counts as a double homicide in some states.
It should. Yeah, it absolutely should.
Yeah, it counts even in California.
Wow. Even California busts people
even
up for
California.
that? Wow.
Yes.
The other thing
famously, Scott Peterson, when he murdered his pregnant wife.
Scott Peterson did nothing. You're mistaken. Don't smear Scott like that. Have you seen all the documentaries on his innocence?
Of double murder.
No. Okay, so yeah. Assuming that the verdict was correct, it was a double murder. I'm fascinated with that case because there's the burned out van and those like Mexican gang guys who were in the neighborhood. I saw the Nancy Grace documentary. Okay, Scott Peterson did nothing wrong. He's been framed.
I actually, at the time, part of me was actually hoping that he was going to get acquitted because of how crazily poor the police investigation was. Like they violated his civil rights like 3 times in the way that they collected evidence prior to warrants coming in. They admitted evidence into the trial that should not have been admitted because it was collected from a vehicle that he obtained after her body was already found.
Yeah.
It was crazy. Like it was both the investigation from the police and the trial itself were so full of mistakes and so sloppy that I was just like, part of me as a libertarian minded person was like, I don't know that I want to see the state succeed in this manner. It's only acceptable because everybody knows that this guy's obviously guilty.
Well, the thing do they know that? I told you to leave Scott alone.
We knew at the time. It's not until 20 years later that people are questioning.
Well, the crazy thing, and I'm like tongue in cheek for people to be totally clear on that. However, I do think there are a lot of oddities in that case, and one of them is that there's not a single piece of physical evidence that connects Scott to the murder. There's not blood or hair or this. Like, if he did it, and I'm not saying he didn't, he was like the cleanest murderer in the history of murderers. He needs the amputee kid. He's not really a kid. Amputee guy, he needs to work with Scott to make sure his murder scenes are much cleaner if he wants to get away with it. Because Scott is like a pro's pro, apparently. The other thing I don't understand is why he'd go dump the body in the San Francisco Bay while also his alibi is I'm fishing in the San Francisco Bay. But that's what he did, I guess.
Also,
anyway.
Fishing in the bay.
Do people really do that? I lived right on the bay for a couple of years. I never fished in it.
People do, but it's gross. Don't do that.
Probably pretty good. Yeah, probably a lot of bodies in there. Anyway,
for sure.
Ninja Kitty also says, part 2, he will forever carry the memory of watching them both die in a horrific manner, never getting any justice. This being the husband in that case. And I don't know what his current circumstance is. I know he was shot, I think, multiple times in the arm. He lived, like Ninja Kitty's saying. But yeah, to have your family taken from you in that way, and in a way, not just taken from you, like he's saying, you saw it, you watched them die in a completely unexpected, horrific way. And the justice for you, courtesy of the state of Washington and the King County prosecutor, is this guy's going to go to a mental health facility and be evaluated by doctors with the prospect of getting out. And that's the thing, Matthew, in Washington. They're only saying he might get out one. He's getting out. You know that guy's getting out. The doctors are going to release him one day. The prosecutors have a chance to object. The same ones who agreed to let him off the hook on some kind of insanity plea. Oh, yeah, I'm sure those prosecutors will protect the public when it comes to their responsibility to do it. I'm sure they'll stand up for everybody.
And the worst thing about this is this wasn't a non-competent verdict. This was a not guilty verdict.
I guess I didn't know those were two different things. Are they? They're
Yes.
two. Okay, I thought they were the same.
So you can be ruled as not competent enough to stand trial,
Okay.
in which case you will go for treatment until the day arrives that you can be
Oh, okay.
tried. They acquitted him. He was actually rendered not guilty.
Right, so they
due
can't
to
bring
his
charges
insanity.
again.
So he cannot be charged for this crime again.
There will never be justice for it in that way.
No.
That's horrendous.
Yeah, we need to just get rid of the insanity plea in general. Like, nobody's ever really questioned the veracity of it. Like, he obviously knew what he was doing. He had been charged before, but like, what is this? Like, you don't achieve anything by letting people who, like, I just question the whole thing. Like, nobody is totally insane where they're completely in control, and if they are, they should probably just be eliminated from society altogether.
Well, yeah, that's the thing is, this so-called solution serves neither justice nor safety. That's the problem with it. It's not justice for the family, and it's certainly not safety. But by the way, it's injustice for everybody else. To your point, and this was a point that Matt Walsh was making on X, which I jogged my mind too, is why is there a moral obligation for society to just keep him alive to a natural death? I get that life has value in general. We preserve life in general. But in the case of a guy who's not just a hypothetical threat to the lives of everybody, but a demonstrated one, he just double murdered, almost triple murdered. Why does everyone owe a tax dollar to sustain that life in the supposed interest of justice? I don't understand that, to your point.
And it's just being abused. People know it's abused. Like, if you knew that was the only way you could have your life spared, you'd be like, oh yeah, let's try the insanity plea. Let's give it a shot. Maybe it'll rule in my favor.
Hottie Twerkman, the Spokane Chesterton Academy is looking for a humanities teacher if Matt is not too busy tweaking teats. Do you milk your own cows? And twisting pretzels. There you go. I guess I haven't asked you. You ever think about, you think you're done with teaching, or you think you'll maybe go back someday?
Yeah, I would love to go back on like a part-time basis, but I'm actually really enjoying the new found flexibility and freedom as an owner, and farming. Like, it's actually really amazing.
That's great, man. I'm really glad to hear it. And speaking of inspirational stories, like the guy with no arms and legs who can still murder people, the fact that you faced the sort of firing and public scrutiny that you did, and you're kind of forced into that leap of faith of doing something for yourself, to see you successful on the other side is really, number one, it's really good for your family. So I'm happy to hear that. But number two, it is demonstration for people who are kind of on the fence of like, I hate my job, it sucks, and I would love to do something for myself, but it's risky. Story like yours, man. Just go build a farm and twist pretzels. You can do it too.
Well, to God be the glory, because there was a big unknown on the other side, and be responsible now while you are working. Like, save as much money as you can, like while you're an employee, and then if you could have a little bit of, it offers you a little bit of flexibility when you're looking for a new job, but you can take a leap of faith and maybe start a business.
Thanks, Hottie Twerkman. The great knee grow. That's what the amputee guy needs. He needs knee grow. He needs those knees to grow. Regarding Weber, that's him. It's common for people not to take a threat by firearm seriously. Plus, you don't need to be good to end someone. Maybe that's it. Maybe that explains how he was able to pull this gun to the surprise of the man who was murdered. That the guy just, there was nothing in his mind that thought this guy's capable of shooting me in the head, and then he did. I don't know. Also says, as I understand it, as neither a Jew and not a lawyer, insanity means insane at the time of the offense, not overall. Hence why it rarely works. So institutionalization is the remedy over death. So let me read that again. Insanity means insane at the time of the offense, not overall. Hence why it rarely works. Okay. And that was my confusion.
It can be both.
Okay. Yeah, like it's ongoing. You were insane then and you're still insane now. But that was what taken at its face, now I'm not confused why this went this way in Seattle, because there are all kinds of political reasons I believe it did. But taken at its face, their explanation is that both the defense and the prosecution got their respective separate experts who both declared this guy insane. But they're doing this months and years after the fact. Now, they watched like videos of him talking to police, and there are certain pieces of evidence from the time that you could evaluate. But to me, like if a medical evaluation after the fact, looking at a video, let's say that like I was walking with a limp 3 years ago, could a doctor look at me and say like, oh yeah, that guy has a torn ACL? Like, maybe. There are, like, it has signs of certain things, but to me, like, a medical diagnosis retroactively based on video of someone talking is like a preposterous concept. But that's what this sounds like they did, if I'm understanding correctly.
Well, just to say, like, yeah, the brain state that he was in at the time, it was inevitable, and he had no control that would lead to another outcome. The whole thing just falls on its head. Like, it's just ridiculous. That's not true. It's just, at the end of the day, it's not true. And that's what we need to be fighting for. It's like, what's true? Do insanity cases, are those real? No, they're not. So,
well, I understand why the defense exists, because a bunch of crimes, including murder, requires mens rea. So it means you have to be able to prove the criminal mindset at the time that the criminal act was committed. So, what
about just like negligence or recklessness, though? I mean, I guess
those
that's
don't go into murder.
Yeah, it would go into some other form of criminal homicide.
Well, at least not murder 1.
Yeah.
You might get down to murder 2, or if your state has murder 3, which is becoming more and more rare these days.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's where like manslaughter comes in and that type of stuff. So but the problem that we run into is kind of one of the things that we've been discussing, and one of the things that Matt Walsh was talking about was, like, if this is the reality for this person, if they are known or prone to these fits of not being able to control their own impulses due to insanity, well, we can't have that type of person in society. Like, they're
exactly.
That's the thing. Like, if we're doing this psych hospital commitment, it has to be treated functionally as prison. You're never getting out. Like, you have to protect the society's interest in him not doing that again. The only way to make this more horrific than it already was is if he gets out and does it again. And that's the sort of case people talk about, like, prosecutors or judges need to be held accountable when criminals reoffend in that way. I know this is hypothetical because it hasn't happened yet, but it seems to be a very foreseeable case. If that happened in the future, the prosecutors and the judge responsible should have some personal liability, in my opinion. I don't know how you'd structure that legally, but you would have to treat them as like criminal accomplices, I think, in a just world. But it's never going to happen. He'll be visiting your farm very soon.
Oh my
gosh. You got to watch out.
We are prepared.
Yeah, good. Until the state of Washington steals your preparations. Anyway, over on YouTube, then we'll get into some voicemails and emails. Joshy boy, what happened to Matt's hair? Yes, I do mean Matt. Well, I know you know what happened to my hair, but we talked to Matthew about what happened to his hair last time he was on. I think he just got sick of it, right? He just had enough.
Yeah, it was getting too long, and it's not as thick as it used to be. So I'm just preparing for
you're becoming one of us. Is that? I know your brother's that way too. He's affected.
Yeah. I'll be joining you guys soon.
Well, enjoy it while it lasts, man.
Thank you.
There's freedom in joining the Bald Head Club. You never got to worry about it again. Other than you have to do it like every 3 days. But
I have a friend who I have some relatives. One has hair, one doesn't, and we talk about baldness from time to time. And he goes, "Man, you don't want this lifestyle. I have to wake up every day, and I actually have to wash this hair. Like, you don't want that. It's such a burden."
It's nice to have options, but I don't miss having like a mop head, It's been a long time since I have, but that's how I used to have my hair, long and crazy when I was a young man. And I wouldn't go back to that now, even if I could. Ryan Allen, wreck between Phillipsburg 118 and Conway 113. MO, is that Missouri? Are we talking about the Indian truck driver crash? I don't know. But I know that was on I-44 in Missouri. Anyway, yeah, bad situation. Thank you, Ryan. And Joshy also says, got to hand it to Weber. He's getting a leg up on other criminals. All right.
I saw somebody else said that at least he didn't leave any fingerprints.
He was Scott Peterson clean in that regard. Yeah. Okay.
I'll have to just circle back with you.
We will stop our super chat there. We'll come back to super chats at the end of the stream. Appreciate you guys supporting the show. And Tim, I saw your message about a call. If we have some time, I will perhaps allow you a call. I got a lot of emails as well, though, so I want to leave time for email contributors. But stand by, Tim, and if we have time at the end of the show, I'll bring you in for a call. Offer for callers, if you want to call live, you can hop in the Discord server as well, and Tim will help you out. But I also have a voicemail here. Now, before I get into the voicemail, I want to remind everybody, if you'd like to send an email or a voicemail or a text message for consideration on the show, way to do that is through the contact page on my website, mattchristiansenmedia.com/contact. Email submission box is there, number to call is there, all of that. So appreciate people who are contributing that way. Let's listen to a voicemail from Kaiser in Gilroy, who wants to talk about the I know you know a little bit about this, Skulldugger, the cancellation of Cesar Chavez in California, right?
Good evening, Matt, and whoever is riding with you on the panel this Wednesday. I'd like to get your thoughts and everyone else's thoughts on not the erasure or cancellation, but the full-blown memory hole of Cesar Chavez. Now, in California, this guy was practically an icon to the Latinx community. When he passed, when I was a sophomore in high school in '93, they were naming libraries after him, parks, erecting statues of him. And then some non-generian last week decides to not remain silent anymore about being abused and molested when she was a kid, or maybe she's dying and she needs to get this out there, or she just needs attention because she's 96 and no one gives a shit about her anymore. Jeez. But I want your thoughts on this. I mean, what slippery slope is this going to go down? And who's next? I have no LaDonna. Just give me a no, por favor. Thanks, guys.
No, por favor.
Your wish is my command. Now, I don't know a lot about what's going on in California with Cesar Chavez or about the guy himself. I know he was a labor leader in California. I know there are a lot of schools and stuff named after him. And I also know, as Kaiser was saying, that there was a report recently published of a lot of women coming out and saying, yeah, he grabbed my ass a long time ago, or he he brought me into his office and stuff happened. And so the cancellation of Cesar Chavez is on. But Skulldugger, I don't mean to put you on the spot. I just suspect you know more about this than I do. Maybe?
Yeah. So I actually attended Cesar Chavez Middle School. It was changed. The name was actually changed between my 5th and 6th grade years. Okay. So it started under one name, and then while I was attending there, it was changed over to Cesar Chavez Middle School. And at the time, we were all told, all of the great things that Cesar Chavez did for, back then they just called it, workers' rights, or, farmers' rights, or all this stuff. So it wasn't until I got into high school and actually started learning more about who this guy was. I was like, this guy was a commie thug. And when we were talking about the workers' rights he was fighting for, they were predominantly illegal immigrant.
Is that the case? Okay. So this is a good cancellation, I guess. I'm glad they're eating their own.
Yeah, but the weird thing is, I'll accept the cancellation under whatever terms it comes under. But playing grab ass is way down the list of things that this guy should be canceled for.
The only qualifier I'll add on that is that one of these accusers says she was 13 at the time. So, that would be a problem.
He touched young people.
Who knows if it's true, though? And that's you've sat on these accusations for decades, until decades after a man is dead, and we have no way to verify them. So it's very unfair to make accusations against a man while he's living in an unprovable way. Decades after his death, what the hell are we supposed to do? It's just do you believe it or not? In general, even though it sounds like this guy sucked as a matter of his politics, or a matter of his legacy in general, for the same reasons I would oppose removing the Robert E. Lee statues. I don't want to start canceling history in this way either. So
I want to cancel.
You do want to cancel him? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, so this guy, he mainly fought for the rights of illegal immigrants. He was really one of the progenitors of the blurring of the lines between illegal immigrants and legal immigrants by just referring to them all as migrant farmers. And he would also encourage people to resist authority by means of like racially segregated gangs, basically. Like he was he was an advocate of gang violence.
Are these all the things they taught you in California school that were good about him? Is that where you learned?
No,
this
so
stuff?
I didn't learn any of this stuff in school. I had to go outside of my schooling to understand, what this guy was. So I started learning more about him when we were reading The Grapes of Wrath in high school, because he was good friends with John Steinbeck. So the Grapes of Wrath is actually inspired by a lot of the work of Cesar Chavez.
Matthew, you have any thoughts on Mr. Chavez or cancellations?
No, the one corollary thought that I had, just about things coming out about people after they die. I think, is it next year that I think it was, I think in 1967, there was a judge who put like a 50-year or 60-year time lock on some really important documents and FBI recordings for Martin Luther King.
Okay.
And those are going to be released next year. And these are all like the wiretappings, a lot of like classified files about him. And some of the rumors about what's in there is not good. And so I wonder
he also grabbed asses?
Some things are a lot worse than just that. So so I'm just curious about that. That was the one thing I was thinking about.
Dude, if I were to rank like the uncancelable people, MLK. The riots we would experience if you started renaming MLK boulevards and MLK high schools or whatever.
Yeah,
that's fiery but mostly peaceful.
I think it's next year. I don't know if you guys have heard about that.
I haven't heard about a release of additional documents. I have no idea. But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
I can't wait for the cancel King movement.
Well, there are no Kings is this weekend again. I think there's another no Kings. Now there's no Martin Luther King. We're banning that one too. Okay, want to get into some email questions, and thank you to Kaiser for the voicemail. Let's pull up email questions here. And there was one left over from last week that I wanted to get into, and I think, you guys are both men of faith, so I think you'll probably have some thoughts on this too. And Matthew, we haven't talked about it a whole lot, but I decided, I made the commitment to Christian faith a year and a half ago, decided to follow Jesus as a part of my life, and I've been on a journey since then, although I'm relatively inexperienced compared to a lot of people. But this is a question about philosophy of faith or religious faith that I thought was worthy of discussion. We just didn't have time last week. So this is from Dagalicious. And he said, hey, Matt, in what ways has your personal philosophy shaped your pursuit of religion? What personal philosophical aspects shaped your choice of denomination? Just curious what led you toward one at the exclusion of the others. I'm curious to hear from your guest hosts on this topic too, with the exception of that schismatic monarchist you have on sometimes. Love the show. I assume Joshy's not here tonight. Don't worry. Okay. Now, in general, I think your faith should shape your philosophy. Your philosophy should not shape your faith. If you get that backwards, you're doing the James Tallarico in Texas, the guy who's saying, well, actually, the gospel tells us to abort babies if you read it very closely, that sort of thing. That's backward. You shouldn't do that. But of course, I, like everybody else, have some ideological priors that are likely to influence my religious choices. And if I were to pick one thing as a guy who's not the deepest down this path and has not made a lot of firm choices about I will do this but not that, or I believe this but not that, I'm on a general trajectory. I am not super strict about a lot of a lot of particulars yet, although I might get that way. But the number one thing I think that I've taken into this is the idea that since all men are created equal in the image of God, we are all the same before God in that regard. Now, of course, the term equality gets confused in all sorts of contexts these days. It doesn't mean that we're all the same in terms of our abilities, characteristics, talents. It means we are all the same in that we are made in the image of God. According to that principle, to me, we all have the same relationship with God. And so premises in the context of the church that elevate some over others in terms of their relationship with God, I am fairly skeptical of. And I'm being careful with my words because I know that's going to put me at odds with the Catholic Church and the papal structure and all that. I don't mean to be anti-Catholic, and I don't want to come off that way because, like I said, I'm new in this journey, but I am very skeptical of the idea that fellow men have automatic or presumed authority over the rest of us in our relationship with God. I'm also fully aware of the counter arguments for many of you who are of Catholic faith or Joshi remind me that that's just Protestant nonsense, and everybody else is just trying to invent their own religion and make it your own, choose your own adventure type thing, like James Tallarico. So I understand that what I'm bringing to this has some potential pitfalls as well. But that's probably the number one thing that I have scrutinized in terms of shaping my own religious path is, are we all the same before God, or are some of us more equal than others? And that's kind of where I'm at. So with that, I invite both of you guys to offer your own thoughts on how maybe your philosophy has shaped your choices in faith, and or critique what I just said if you think that I'm wrong. I invite that too.
For me, I grew up attending a Christian church, and so I think from a young age I had a lot of the biblical morals sort of instilled in me, and that shaped a lot of my worldview. But there always comes a time where you kind of have to make your faith your own. So, in my teenage years, I was somewhat rebellious, for a time, and even. I wouldn't say I walked away from Christianity, but I was definitely probably a nominal Christian. And so it wasn't until I moved out east and I was, just out there by myself, and I got plugged into a church, and I was actually really discipled well by some older men who served as role models. And so a lot of the things that I was passed down, a lot of the teachings kind of really came full circle. But I would say I always had a deep sense of right and wrong. And that if there's anything I brought into it, it was like this inner sense of right and wrong. And to me, like, all of those things are best answered by the Christian worldview and God. And so, yeah, that's what kind of comes to my mind right now.
That really speaks to my experience too, because I feel like I had that same sense, but I know you're characterizing it the way that the email question was, which is, what do you bring to this?
Yeah.
And I fully get that, because I used to look at it as though I brought it to it also. But really, I think what you're talking about is there's fundamental moral truth that you're discovering the origin of. Like, you didn't bring that. You came to discover it more fully through the Christian tradition.
Yeah, it's kind of like that C.S. Lewis quote where he says, I don't see everything. I'm going to butcher the quote, but it basically goes like this. Like, I don't see, because I'm a Christian, as like, here it is. I don't see the sun. Gosh dang, I'm butchering it. But basically that the sun is what like allows him to see everything else.
Yeah.
That was already there. And like Christianity was like the sun for him. It's like these things were here. He couldn't see them, but Christianity has illuminated these things that, God has sort of weaved into the fabric of space and time and reality and the spiritual realm. And so I think we just have a pulse on those things, even if we aren't in submission to Christ, because, like Romans 1 says, like, we have a law written unto ourselves. It's a feature of common grace that God has given everybody a sense of right and wrong, but that's not what we brought to the table. Like, that was implanted in us from the beginning. And that also should point us to God.
Skulldugger, you have any thoughts?
So I can see how your personal philosophy would shape your pursuit of theology and religion, and then I can also see how once you start going down a religious road and develop a theology, how that would then also have sort of feedback on what your sort of philosophical views are going forward. So I can kind of see how they reciprocate against each other. And I think that's kind of what my own personal journey has been. I'm sort of naturally skeptical about most things. I very rarely will take things at face value. You can go ahead and present an idea and a concept to me, and then I'm going to go parse through it. I'm going to go break it down to its core elements and find what is the truth behind the thing that you just said to me. So I'm not necessarily going to just full out believe what you put in front of me. I'll go ahead and trust that the information you're giving me is good for you, and therefore is something that you're comfortable putting out into the world. And I'm not necessarily going to debate you on the spot, but I'm also not going to. I'm not the type of person who's just going to drink the Kool-Aid and hop on board with things at first note. So and that's even that has even informed my walk through Christianity. Is I don't necessarily just hop on board with the popular interpretations of every bit of scripture. I've done a lot of work in breaking down biblical texts down into their base language, the original language, and what the actual words mean, and what did this mean to the original audience at the time. How have we changed the language as it's been translated and transliterated through generations, through different countries and different languages and all that stuff. So I can see how both kind of do both. Because as I have signed on to more Christian truths, it has also softened a lot of my skepticism is now more of from a view that there is genuine good in the world, whereas when I was younger, when I was a teenage edgelord, it was my skepticism was more sort of brooding, and life is unjust, and at the end of the day, most things are. It was very entropic.
Fedoras were tipped. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I was a lot more. I was a lot more black pill. I'm still fairly black pill on some things, but I was definitely more black pill when I was younger.
Here's a philosophical question for you, and I got several more questions here. So I'm going to do the worst thing, which is ask you a fairly complex question and then try to get you to move on in 30 seconds. Mm-hmm. But can you be a black-pilled Christian?
Yes.
You think so? I think that's kind of a contradiction in terms.
I don't.
What do you like? Can you specify like black-pilled in what category? Like,
I guess what I mean is, I interpret black-pilled to mean like the fundamental proposition that it's all hopeless, that there's no point in trying, that it's over, that life is nothing but nonsense and suffering, and there's no reason to get up in the morning. And to me, the fundamental concept of Christian faith is that you are, well, I mean, aside from the salvation of Jesus Christ, of course, is the idea that you are here for a reason. You are designed, you are built in God's image. He has a purpose for you, and it is your obligation to pursue it. To me, you cannot accept that proposition, that there is purpose for you to fulfill, while also believing simultaneously in the black pill proposition that there is nothing for you to fulfill, that it's all hopeless and you should quit.
That's kind of why I've been lending more sympathy and adherence to, like, the post-millennial eschatological conviction. I'm not sure if you're familiar with
Those are listen, teach. Those words are too big. I have no idea.
Yeah.
What that
So
is.
basically, there's basically three big ones. There's amillennial, postmillennial, and premillennial, and all of those have to do with like when do you think Christ will return, or like what do we do with like the millennial reign that's talked about in the Bible, and a postmillennial would say that we are actually the millennia. I think it was symbolic, and that it's already Christ has returned. And we are living in that millennial reign right now, but it's not a literal 1,000 years. But we have optimism because God's Christians have the distinct role of like Christianizing the nations, and things actually get better over time to usher in the new heavens and new earth. And I might be butchering that a little bit, but that's a view of the end times and of eschatology that first and foremost from Scripture, I think makes the most sense. But just personally, I think you can live out a Christian faith just a bit more, like not so quite so pessimistic, because we know that Christ will win in the end, not just in this mysterious.
That's what I mean. Like
third realm way, but actually physically here on Earth, Christ.
You can't
will
take
win.
that and be black-pilled. But Skulldugger, I challenged you, and I want to give you the last word if I've mischaracterized what you're saying.
I mean, I think you can be black pill on some things. I don't think you as a Christian, you probably shouldn't be like full on nihilist, as you were saying.
Yeah, I guess I consider those to be interchangeable, but maybe you're saying they're not.
Yeah, I think there's degrees of just because you take some black pills doesn't mean that you necessarily are like, giving up on absolutely
only on the
But
weekends. You go to the parties, you take a few, and that's it. You're still functional.
I think there is still some amount of just honestly analyzing the current fallen world and saying that there's not necessarily it's not necessarily guaranteed that this are going to get better.
I see. So would it be fair to say that there are black-pilled pieces of our earthly existence without that you can acknowledge without denying the rest of it, which of course intrinsically carries hope within it if you accept that on faith.
So the final hope is in Jesus, is in God. God wins in the end. That's the way this story ends. So no matter what happens on earth, and this is actually where Christian nihilism comes in. There are Christian nihilists. There is a form of Christianity known as Christian nihilism, and it's mainly in the vein
They're like a narco-communist. That doesn't make any sense. You can't be that.
Well, it's in the vein of we know that in the end, like everything is already basically set. God already knows how everything is going to end. So there's no point in actually like worrying about all of this stuff. God is just going to work everything out for his benefit anyway. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work out for your benefit.
Well, thank you, Dagalicious. That was clearly a thought-provoking question, which is why I wanted to return to it, and I appreciate your answers as well, gentlemen. Moving on to some new questions this week. Drath the Sage says, I understand the isolationist position, and it should be the default tendency. But if it's 1939 and Hitler makes a stop by your house and says, I'm about to destroy Europe unless you... Shoot me, nigga! Shoot me, nigga! You got to do it, right? Jefferson was a bit of an anti-federalist until it came to the Louisiana Purchase. Are we about to give a third of the country back to France? My question is then, are principles internal codes of conduct that we autistically adhere to, or are they in service to something greater and therefore can be violated when the greater requires it? Well, okay, that question goes beyond foreign policy, at least as it's framed in the end there. So I'm going to keep it within the foreign policy context. And this is a big question without a lot of simple answers. But I look at international relations and our role as a country in the world a lot like I look at my neighborhood. Generally, mind your own business. Take care of your own house. Don't be annoying. Don't be nosy. If everyone takes care of their house and their own business, the neighborhood is going to be a great place, and your house is going to be in the best shape that it possibly can. However, doing only that yourself without any concern with what others in your neighborhood are doing, that can create a terrible, junky neighborhood. What if your neighbors don't share your general view about the responsibility to take care of their own property, and they allow theirs to deteriorate into junk? It's not just that you have like an ugly, crappy looking house to look at in your neighborhood. That actually directly affects you in the value of your property and other things as a stakeholder in that neighborhood. Or what if your neighbors just have like a bunch of degenerate criminal friends who maybe they're not even committing crimes in your neighborhood, but they're just the wrong crowd that's coming there to hang out, and there's bad things that are going to happen because of the crowd that's coming into your neighborhood. Those sorts of things. Extrapolate that to the international stage, you have the same sort of effect. Like, yeah, we could, as someone whose inclinations are isolationist in the way you describe, I also recognize like the shortcoming, the pitfall is, number one, you potentially allow your enemies to strengthen. And number two, like if you allow the entire world to deteriorate into a crap hole of people who threaten you, at some point the threat is going to be realized and you'll have to deal with it. So there obviously is a point at which what is fundamentally other people's business legitimately becomes your business too. What is that line? And I'm not asking rhetorically. This is something I have a very difficult time defining in my own head. Is it only a direct threat as like the pure isolationist? Maybe not even a direct threat, a realized threat. You shouldn't have foreign intervention unless someone attacks you, not even is plotting to attack you unless they do it. Or do we have like a development interest in other countries? I'm inviting both of you gentlemen to help me define the line because I'm very bad at doing it. What do you think?
So there is no absolute isolationist view for the United States that makes any sense. We are too involved in too many things all around the globe. We control basically international commerce. International trade is backed by the dollar and is backed by the U.S. Navy. So we are already like that is already a break in isolationism. So if you're going to say that you're a pure isolationist, then you're going to have to take the stance that we need to back out of being the backbone of international trade.
Which is a major move. Is there isolationism plus power? Do you have to pick one? Your explanation would imply you do have to pick one there. You cannot be a global power and isolationist. Fair to say?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. I mean, at least not in the way that we are conducting it. We're not imperialist in any real sense. If we are imperialist, we are the worst empire probably in recorded history. We absolutely suck.
That's
at
definitely
empire.
A possibility, given our recent track record, I'd say.
Yeah, but I don't think that we are necessarily imperialist in nature. But there is no real reality. There's no real.
Well, I guess as someone who, it sounds like your philosophy is open to more intervention, more involvement than maybe my philosophical tendencies would be. Is it the sort of thing that has like a computer program? We have inputs X, Y, and Z, which compels action A to be taken. Or is it, what are the rules in your framework? Or is it just like, it's case by case and it depends on what our interest in the particular circumstance is?
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with it being case by case. Like, I think more things in life need to be case by case. Setting these really weird, rigid, hard line rules that don't allow for the calculation of nuance, I don't think is beneficial to most people on Earth. I don't think that that's a logical way of going about your life. I don't think that's sustainable for a person, and it's certainly not sustainable for an entire country, especially one that is the preeminent superpower on the face of the planet. We have to be able to have the flexibility to navigate fluid situations.
Matthew, you have any thoughts?
I share your conundrum, dealing with the neighbors. But honestly, I don't know. Part of me thinks like you're always going to have neighbors pop up that you don't agree with on everything. But I don't know. I have no idea.
Just want to milk your cows like an honest man, dude. I get it.
Yeah,
I want to be there with
maybe
you.
if it's Mexico and Canada, since we share a border with them, those are the ones we worry about. If our neighbors are stacking up trash and it annoys us.
Yeah.
But if it's 7,000 miles away on the other side of the planet, we just.
I get that. It's like, are my neighbors the people? Are my neighbors the people here in Bozeman who live directly next to me, or like the people where you guys live far west of here? Do you count as neighbors in that way? The only problem with that outlook, as someone who shares that outlook generally, is the world's a much smaller place with modern technology. Like, not only can you physically travel the globe much more easily, but the way that countries can meddle with us from just like information and the internet and all that. What is a neighbor in this context anymore? Is there actually a giant difference between, say, Canada and Mexico, or the gay cardboard Ayatollah in terms of accessibility to our country? I'm not saying there isn't, but the world is smaller than it ever has been thanks to technological advancement, you know?
G.K. Chesterton said that the only defensible war is a war of defense. And so I think it's possible that where we just protect our borders and we're America first, and you know, we just worry about what happens here. Like, I don't see why we have to, like, if we offer another country something of value for something we want, they will give it to us.
You'll understand when the gay Ayatollah comes and says, "Durka, Durka, give me your cows. I'm here to seize them."
So,
maybe.
So just as a question, what about defending American interests that are not within our own borders?
What are the interests, though? Like, should we even have those interests?
I mean, we do. Like,
I know, but like, what is one of the interests? Is it
international trade routes?
Well, if we have something that somebody else wants, they will find a way. That's just how I think the free market and individual choice works. Like, if we have something that they want bad enough, even somebody who we consider an enemy will find a way to procure whatever it is that we have that they want.
They will bomb the strait for us. That's what has to happen. They might. It's not insane to think it could happen.
So if we retract and we abandon supporting international trade, and we no longer use our Navy to guarantee security, and international trade is no longer backed by the U.S. dollar, it will create a vacuum somebody else is going to fill. So are you comfortable with China achieving that level of power?
I don't know. I don't know if I don't know if that's a false dichotomy. Like, it's an either or situation. I don't know that would necessarily happen. And like, but why can't we just produce the things that we need here and let it stay here and be a resilient, self-sovereign nation? And we defend our territories. Like, why is that off the table? Is everything just so intertwined these days where it's just like, that's just not a possibility? I'm asking because I just genuinely don't know.
Well, because we also have trade partners where we are trading things from us to them. Are you saying we should stop doing that as well?
Let's just manufacture everything here. Like, let's just...
Right.
Bingo.
But the things that we manufacture here, can we then sell that outside of our borders, or should we only sell within our borders? Because that's how isolationist we're going to be. We're going to be so isolationist that we're not purchasing anything from outside of the United States, and we're not going to sell anything outside of the United States. So there's no reason for us to ship anything anywhere. Close the ports.
Well, then maybe, I don't know. And I honestly, like, what's that famous Alex Jones quote where he's like, I'm kind of retarded, right? Like, and I am, right?
I've got that one somewhere in here. Let me dig while you keep going.
Like, it just makes sense to me to produce as much as you possibly can at home. Like, because we also have to remember, like, a lot of the problems that exist out there are also because we're out there stoking the fire all the time. So, like, and maybe other countries just don't like that much. And that's the reason why people hate us. is because we're always in everybody's business trying to get a regime change here, assassinate this president here, install this new leader here. Like, what if we just stopped worrying about all that and just started helping people here, and we could stop wasting all those hundreds of billions of dollars and invest it right here at home?
I don't have that Alex Jones quote. It's lost, but I do have the other famous one.
I will eat your ass.
That's all I got.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't see America currently being served as a isolationist country. I think we are better served as being the preeminent superpower, and I don't think that you can be those. I don't think that you can be both of those at the same time. So if you draw back to within your own borders, like you can't be a libertarian superpower. Like
I'm gonna find a way. Just it's like it's a black pill.
There's just no way.
You be a black pilled Christian, and I'm gonna be a libertarian superpower. and Matthew's gonna help me, dude. We're gonna do it. Just you wait and see. You wouldn't think that a guy could double tap another dude without arms either, but there he is. Okay, anything is possible. Like Kevin Garnett with the Celtics, anything is possible. Just you wait. Now, I appreciate the spirited discussion, gentlemen, because this is not something. This is one thing that's very easy to talk about in simple terms, but the reality is it's actually not simple at all, and you do have to make difficult choices. It's a very intertwined world, and if we want any role in it, you're going to have to think critically about what your involvement's going to be, and what sort of what kind of isolationism, quote unquote, actually makes sense. Because in the absolute sense, like you're talking about, I think it makes about as much sense as the guy with the awesome mansion in the middle of a dump saying, at least I've, again, the neighborhood comparison, at least I've taken care of my home. Yeah, but you live in a freaking dump, dude. So you got some stuff to worry about. Yeah. Anyway, appreciate it, guys. Let's get a couple more. We're past the top of the hour already, man. A lot of stuff to get through, but we'll get through a couple more. We'll call it a night. Thanks for that one, Drath. The outlaw Sodomy Jones.
That's disgusting.
I know the outlaw Josie Wales, but who's the outlaw Sodomy Jones? I don't know. Okay, I have a question about the proliferation of AI that seems to be happening nowadays. How do you think it's going to affect society moving forward, specifically how people perceive reality? AI has made terrifying advances in an incredibly short amount of time, to the point where even sensible people in my circle of family and friends are being duped by realistic AI videos. We already have a society where partisan media and curated algorithms make people so biased, it's like they're living in a different reality. What happens when you can easily create, quote unquote, evidence that another reality, quote unquote, exists? What happens when big news companies or powerful politicians can create fake videos or discredit real videos with the compliance of fact checkers? What are your thoughts? Have you or your guests noticed anything like this in your lives, or am I just being paranoid? First of all, I'll say I myself have been duped by AI videos. I remember the dancing one where all those people, the social media, the influencers as they're called, had the Pam Bondi Epstein binders, and they did a dance, and I thought the dance was real. It looked legit. It wasn't. There have been a few examples of videos that I thought were real that got me. So I try to be critical whenever I watch these things. But another example that I was remembering. This happened. I think the incident happened in 2024, but the guy went to trial this time last year. It was a hoax hate case where an athletic director at a school used AI to create a fake recording of the principal being racist, saying he doesn't like Jews or N's or something. And he tried to get the principal punished or fired, and it came out that the whole thing was fake, and he actually got sentenced to some prison time for doing that. So the images are getting more realistic, the videos are getting more realistic, the audio is getting more realistic, to the point that people who are aware, sensible, critical are actually getting tricked. And so the way this is going to play out, on the one hand, the tech is really cool. It has a lot of practical applications that are useful. On the other hand, you have all these risks. And the only way I can imagine dealing with the risks of the fake information that can be used not only to trick people in terms of what's true and what's false, but actually to attack individual people in the way that this principal at this school was attacked, is if you have some kind of like verification system that can identify AI creation as opposed to something authentic. But that has problems. Like, who's going to run the authenticity council that declares what's real and what's not? I don't know how you deal with this. Like, you have to have some sort of authentication mechanism.
Well, we'll just create an algorithm for that. Yeah, we'll just create an algorithm, and then we'll have AI in charge of actually doing the validation.
RoboCop will go into the algorithm and he'll shoot the bad creations, and the robot war will be it will resolve itself in that way. I don't know. I have no idea how you, like, who's Chuck Schumer and Elizabeth Warren in DC. Are they going to make some sort of authenticity council that decides what's real and what's not? To me, the only answer is, like, maybe people who understand the tech a little bit better than I do is there some telltale sign technologically that you could scan this stuff through to verify? That is to say, there are signs within the metadata of the file or something that could show you its origin. What I don't want is the sort of fact checker council that decides what's true and false in terms of political claims, as we've seen, deciding, like, just looking at a video based on their subjective feel, whether they believe it's real or not. If there's got to be some objective way to identify AI creation. Does that exist technologically or not? I don't know the answer to that question.
That's why I'm on a farm now, man. I think
there ain't no AI cows. Yeah.
No, I think one really healthy thing people can do is just spending a little bit less time scrolling and just pick a few things that you like to engage with. And the only guaranteed safe way to not be duped by a lot of this is just to spend less time online. Which is kind of oxymoronic because we're online right now. But, there's got to be maybe a few things that you do, maybe a few shows that you check in with. But, like, half the time I get duped is because I'm on my, like, I've been scrolling for like 20 minutes and it's just like I'm in this mode of thinking, and turns out that was fake. And so with talking about isolationism, just go back to the real world. I've been talking about this just with my wife a little bit. Like, I think there will be markets in the future that emerge, and they're going to be services, experiences that preserve what is distinctly human, because people are going to, like, just groan for that again. And so, like, that which is distinctly human there will be a renaissance for it, because I don't think people can take it anymore.
You think we're going to win the robot war? That you're definitely not a black pillar.
I don't think it's just going to be like a complete reversal of technological innovation.
Yeah.
But, like, I think there will be, like, hey, we're going to go to this restaurant, and guess what? You can actually talk to someone face to face. Like, and that's going to be like the event of the week, like, that stuff's going to be happening more and more. Like, if you can preserve a distinctly human experience, there will be a market for it.
The only flaw I can identify with your reasoning is that we as humans will retain the authority to make such decisions at all. When the AI has reached its full capacity and the robot army is at its full strength, there will be no human choices to be made whatsoever. They will block you from your peers. You will be plugged into the matrix and you will be their slave. And the robot war will have been won by the AI and the Terminators and all the things. Joe Biden says, he says not a joke. Never mind. He says not a joke when he means it is a joke. I don't even know where I'm going with that reference. Mm-hmm. What I'm saying is I'm being tongue in cheek, kind of. But I think that with the expansion of all this technology, I do sincerely worry that there will come a day that technological advancement, like, eclipses human freedom. That is to say, like, we're no longer the boss anymore. The technological creation owns us. And maybe we're already there. I don't know.
Well, that's what Matt Walsh was saying, like, on his show the other day, like, talking about why people are so fed up with subscription services is, like, the decisions are overwhelming sometimes with just so many movies, so many shows that are available.
Yeah.
And you can get actually stuck 30 minutes just choosing something to watch because there's so many things.
Yeah.
But like now, if AI will be able to just crank out movies by the thousands, like every hour, and they can actually create a movie specifically for you that nobody else has seen, but they can just do it in a matter of seconds. Like it doesn't feel like we're too far away from something like that.
Like you just type into Netflix, I want a movie with these characteristics, and it makes it for you.
That's possible. Like in 5 years, like I would not even be shocked because of look at the things that they're producing now. It's like these are incredible movie shots, interviews, deep fakes that are faking us out. Like, why couldn't they make a 2-hour-long movie?
And I wonder if that technology existed, would people even enjoy it? Because of course it's catered to you, but so much of enjoying a show or a movie is talking about it with your friends or family later. What did you think about this? Or I can't believe that happened, or this person in the show, or whatever. So if everybody had their own personally created entertainment, you would no longer share the entertainment with your friends and family. And that's like half the fun to me. My wife and I like to watch trash TV because we like talking about it with each other, and we like talking trash about the people in trash TV. If you removed the interaction between us, I don't care about watching that stuff by myself, really. So how would that
we've already been moving away from monoculture. Like the one of the last things is like the Super Bowl. That's like the one thing that we can all talk about. Or every once in a while there's a movie that comes out. The last movie that I really remember everybody was talking about was Top Gun. That's the last one that I remember everybody was talking about it. But like that has become such a rare occurrence nowadays.
Skulldugger, you have any AI thoughts before we move on?
At this point, I'm not as doom and gloom about. For me, this is just the advancement of a recycled argument that's been going on since the 1970s that has never really had teeth, and I still don't really think that it does. I think a lot of this is just kind of doomsday mentality.
You're going to be shining Terminator boots very soon. You're going to be licking those Terminator boots.
Well, here's the interesting thing about AI is it can only do what we program it to do. So if there's
until it starts programming itself.
Well, it would have to be programmed to even be able to program itself. So if you just don't program AI to know how to program itself, it will never program itself.
But what about that whole, like, I was reading like about the multis, right? Like, did you guys hear about that? Like there was like an AI website where these AIs were communicating with each other, and they actually, because humans were accessing the website, they created a CAPTCHA test that only an AI could pass.
No, I haven't
multis.
Heard
Have you heard about multis?
No, I haven't heard of this. This is new to me.
Maybe somebody in the comments will remember.
Yeah, I don't know.
But the multis, like these were AIs that were communicating, and I think they actually developed something in the website to block any human. Like you had to analyze like 1,000 pictures in 1 second in order to be granted access.
Somewhere there's AI talking to each other on their own AI stream right now saying, lol, Skulldugger thinks we can't program ourselves to talk to each other. Yes, we have him right where we want him. I'm telling you.
So the great thing right now is if AI is talking to AI, neither of them understand that they are AI.
They're not, would the term sentience apply? They're not self-aware, I guess.
They're not self-aware.
Yeah. Anyway.
Which you would have to program an AI to learn.
They just want us to think that we're the bosses, and you follow.
You'd have to also train AI to recognize other AI. These are two things that you should just never do.
This is I'm going to be like I'm going to be Jeff Goldblum on this from Jurassic Park. AI finds a way. That's what's going to happen. It does, man. I'm telling you. Anyway,
all right.
The thing I was talking about is called Moltbook.
Okay. Yeah.
So I think there is still a human with an off button somewhere, but what they're doing amongst themselves is kind of.
There will always be a human with a hand on the off switch. AI.
Yeah, they made all the dinosaurs
inside
female,
computers. Okay? AI exists inside computers on networks. All you have to do is make sure that those computers and networks are controlled by humans.
They forgot that some of they turned the freaking frogs gay, and some of them became male, and then they had dinosaurs everywhere. All right, I saw this movie. It's gonna happen with
until you have Ultron. There's nothing to worry about.
Okay, thank you for the very good question, Sodomy Jones. We're gonna do one more, and then we're gonna call it a night on email questions. But I did want to get to this one as well because I think this is a good practical question. I always like these, like, life advice. What would you do in this life situation type questions? So this one comes from Noah. I got to be careful here. Noah Knigga. Noah Knigga. Okay.
The N-word. That's a very nasty word.
What are your thoughts on remote work for employees who are not content creators? For Matt, if you weren't doing YouTube, would you prefer a job which is remote, hybrid, or in person? If anyone on the panel is a huge fan of remote work, and you had to choose between a job that pays $95,000 a year that is fully remote or a job that pays $150,000 a year but is mostly in person, which would you choose? Asking for a friend, as in me. Well, thank you for the question, Noah. And I am someone who has worked in different ways from home since 2012. Some of that has been for a boss. Most of it has been for myself. And I will say, for me, my own satisfaction is less about location. It's more about self-determination. So that's how I've gotten into this. Working from home for somebody else can be a disaster if you are not a self-driven person, or if you're the sort of person that enjoys slacking off when you can get away with it. It's very easy to do that. You can fall to temptation that way. If you're working for yourself, you can't really do that, regardless of whether you're working at home or working in a traditional workplace. If I was working for somebody else, and in this hypothetical, it sounds like you have a job offer of X or Y, or 95,000 or 150,000. If I'm working for somebody else, I would actually want to go into a physical workplace for two reasons. Number one, accountability. Make sure you don't fall to that temptation of slacking off. Or at least it makes it less likely. Number two, if you're working for somebody else, you're not doing your own self-reliance, building your own thing. It means presumably you're trying to climb a ladder, whether you're trying to climb a ladder within that organization or use it as a launch point to something else. Climbing a ladder in a business that isn't yours requires networking. It's as much about knowing it's who you know in that workplace or in that industry, as much as it is about your talents or your achievements. So going into the workplace helps you in that regard too. Now, in this hypothetical, you're actually making more money to be in the traditional workplace. So to me, I'm taking the additional money to be in the traditional workplace because I think the traditional workplace is actually an asset to you in this hypothetical, not a cost. The only variable that isn't accounted for here to me is the commute. Like if you're talking about, does it take half your day to get there and back? That maybe is a consideration. But if the commute is normal, I'm working in person for more money. Do you guys disagree?
In that scenario, I would probably take the 150. Like that's a pretty big pay difference right there.
Just the money alone is 50%.
Yeah. I mean, are we assuming the benefits are all the same?
I guess, yeah. All the job characteristics are the same other than the pay and the location, I guess.
I mean, if the benefits are all the same, I mean, approaching this from being a person who nearly any job that I would need to go to for 150K would have a horrible commute. I could...
Well, you either have to ride BART or die in traffic. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So like the previous company that I worked for, they had just changed. They built a new office, and the new office location, it would take me, no matter what route I chose, it would take me at least 2 hours to get.
That's a lot.
Work,
that's costly.
And another 2 hours to get home.
Yeah,
So
that's a lot of time.
4 hours of my day every day. Plus, I'm paying to get there somehow. If I'm driving, I'd have to pay bridge toll, and I'd have to pay for parking. If I'm taking public transportation, then I have to pay for the public transportation.
So, if it's all things being equal, which side do you come down on? Just so I'm clear. Like commute is reasonable.
If the commute's reasonable, benefits are the same, then my last consideration would be what the actual office environment is like.
Okay.
If it is a place where you feel that you can thrive personality-wise, then I would probably end up going for the extra money and going into the office.
What if it's full of a bunch of girl bosses?
If the office is an oppressive, hellscape, then I'm staying home.
Okay. Fair enough. All right. Thank you, Noah, and Godspeed in your career choice. All right. I'm going to end email discussion there for tonight, but I do want to say thank you to Chunk Norris, Minnesota Root Beer Enjoyer, Nomad. Oh, Nomad, we got the call from. Maya. Always appreciate your emails, Maya. And perhaps I'll return to some of these emails next week or beyond. As always, keep sending those emails in, and we'll get to as many as we can within time constraints. But we're going to catch up with some super chat. Oh, last thing I should say before I move on from emails. If you'd like to send an email to the show or leave a voicemail or a text message, mattchristiansenmedia.com/contact is the way that you do that. Head on over to that page. You'll have all the information there for you. Okay, let's check in with Super Chat, and then we'll call it a night. We left off with Joshy's chats, and then Injured Guardian says, does Skulldugger have cats in the room? Do you have cats? I guess I haven't noticed them.
I don't have any cats. I have a dog who kind of thinks he's a cat. He's very cat-like in his behavior.
What kind of dog is he? I don't know if I've noticed him running around.
I saw him run behind your head.
Yeah.
Oh, he's right there. I guess I just wasn't very observant. Oh, those do kind of look like cat ears.
Yeah. So he is a Jack Russell Terrier Chihuahua mix, which is an absolute insane combination of traits. So,
Injured Guardian also says, 1, the Grapes of Wrath was inspired by Chavez. Really? What about the ANR scene at the end? That must have been something you said, Skulldugger.
So it wasn't necessarily. So it wasn't inspired because it came before Chavez. It was written in the 30s. But like the two concepts of the Grapes of Wrath and Chavez's movement they're on the same commie rails. John Steinbeck was a commie. Cesar Chavez was a commie. They were both dealing with the agricultural labor issue in California.
Also says, Trump aggrandizement syndrome takes too long to say. We can just call it John Doyle syndrome. I don't know John Doyle. Is he a Trump aggrandizer?
I don't know.
I guess so. I know that he has a lot of admirers, though, so some of his aggrandizement must be fair, I assume. Thank you, Injured Guardian. Taker610. How do you guys view Pascal's wager as a debate instrument? Atheists seem to dismiss it entirely based on what I guess is assuming Christianity could be the only correct religion. Is that fair? Now, Pascal's wager, as I recall off the top of my head, is the idea that you should bet on the existence of God because it will benefit you in the afterlife. That if you bet that there's no God and you're wrong, there will be punishment. If you bet that there is a God and you're wrong, it's just nothing. Right?
Yeah, and if you bet that there is no God and you're right, you gain nothing.
Right. Okay, so atheism carries a problem that it has no upside negative. And only punishment.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay, let me read the question again just so I understand the context in which it fits. How do you view Pascal's wager as a debate instrument? Atheists seem to dismiss it entirely based on what I guess is assuming Christianity could be the only correct religion. Is that fair? Now, I don't think it's logically flawed. That is to say, I don't think its assessment of incentives or costs is wrong. My gut reaction is telling me it's a bad reason to accept faith, though. Why? Do you guys think it's a good or a bad reason?
Well, I think if that's like what ultimately wins you over, like it seems like it's not originating from a place like of true faith. Like you're basically being bought off, like, oh, I'm going to believe just because it benefits me, rather than like a true faith awakening should be like, hey, I realize that I'm a sinner and that I'm in need of grace.
Yeah.
But let me just look at these boxes over here. This one makes the most sense. I'm going to go with that one. Now, maybe that could literally be legitimately what pulls somebody in to maybe give their life to the Lord, and maybe they grow and they mature out of that. But like, if that's what you carry with you, like that's the bedrock of your faith your entire life, I would question whether there's any genuine faith there to begin with.
Yeah, I think you really hit it. It seems transactional, and I don't like a transactional philosophy of I do X to receive Y. It doesn't mean I dismiss the prospect and the promise of salvation and all of this. It just means that the reason I accept these things on faith is because I believe they are true, and your belief should be in pursuit of the truth. You should be truth seeking, not like personal benefit seeking. Now, sometimes those intersect and overlap. Like seeking the truth tends to produce benefits for you because the truth is beneficial for its own sake. But it shouldn't be. Maybe that's why I don't like it as a gut reaction. It seems self-serving as opposed to truth-serving.
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
It could be what is the gateway for an atheist, though. Like maybe they could see the absurdity of their own beliefs, and then maybe it just forces them to question themselves, and maybe that skepticism and that being more inquisitive about the ultimate truth, it could open the door, I suppose.
Skulldugger?
I don't view it as a very compelling debate tactic. Just in the same way, I don't view it as a super strong foundation for faith. Like if you don't have like the already the relational connection to the divine, and you're basing your sort of salvific hope in a logical paradigm rather than an actual spiritual experience, you're probably not going to get very far down that spiritual road. In the same way, you're not really doing much argumentatively by relying on Pascal's wager. It might be a good debate opener, but you're going to have some better material, because as an atheist, somebody can just rebut that by saying, I don't care. And then where do you go from there? How do you counter that argument?
Yeah, if you don't care, if you dismiss the prospect of a personal benefit, then I guess that's kind of an impasse. Is that what you're saying? Yeah, makes sense. Thank you, Taker. Tim, which of these two is more impressive? Quad guy who somehow shot with stubs for arms and legs, or the guy that former guest Michael Cargill taught to load a gun and shoot with his feet? Video in the Discord for reference, by the way. I forgot about that. Michael Cargill, if you guys don't know, he's a gun shop owner in, I believe, Austin, Texas. But he was the litigant in the bump stock case that went before the Supreme Court, and they won. And bump stocks are not machine guns under federal law, that whole thing. But he's also a self-defense trainer guy. And I forgot when he was on my stream when it was the Tenet stuff. And he shared with me some video of a guy he trained to shoot with his feet because he didn't have arms, or forget what his physical situation was. But he shot with his feet, and he was actually pretty good. Forgot all about that.
That's way more impressive. That's way more impressive, because just structurally, the body is not aligned well to shoot with your feet. It's
used his big toe for the trigger and everything.
Yeah, that's way more impressive.
Okay, Laughing Boy. We learned that we can't ignore world events, or we risk inviting another Pearl Harbor to happen, or worse, 9/11. Even minding our own stuff, we are too big of a threat to not be dealt with. That's kind of an interesting perspective. That is, Matt, to your point on like, let's just mind our own business, and if someone attacks us, then a defensible war is a defensive war, like you said. what do you think about the proposition that just our very existence as a big, strong country is perceived as a threat to other countries? And even if we don't meddle in the other part of the world, that because we're big, strong, and prosperous, we'll be a target regardless. You think that's correct, or do you think people will leave us alone?
Maybe. Especially if there's another nation that is running out of resources, and they see us as the only other nation that has whatever they need. That's definitely on the cards or on the table.
The international stage is kind of a Walking Dead zombie apocalypse in that way too. It's like people appeal to international law and stuff. Like, yeah, it's cool that you think that that's a thing. It's really not, though, as a practical matter.
Really not.
So, like, if there are people in a state of desperation who need things, and you have things, they're coming for your things.
Mm-hmm.
I think there is truth to that.
That's just how the world has been.
Yeah.
For all of human history, is like, we're gonna take your stuff, and you don't have a divine right to maintain it. Like your right only goes so far as you have the ability to defend it.
I don't know if I agree with that, actually.
In terms of territories, like
Joshy boy's smiling at that one. That's force doctrine.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's true. Like, who are you going to appeal to? Your own president who just got squashed? Like if let's just think back to ancient Rome, and they invade another country, and that country does not have just some divine right to exist. No, I don't think any country has a divine right to exist. You can defend your territory, or this person's taking it, and that's just the way it works.
Ooh, now I have all sorts of questions on property rights and all that, but it's that time of night where I've probably got to let it go.
But again, you still have somebody to appeal to. If you don't have anybody to appeal to beyond that, then the show's over. It doesn't mean that you did not suffer an injustice. The injustice still occurred. But now you're it's
clarifying.
It's still an injustice. I'm not saying it excuses any of that.
Okay.
But in terms of we just have to. You have to accept defeat. You have.
You're not saying might makes right. You're saying might makes practical realities that have to be accounted for.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, makes sense. Ninja Kitty says rare sight of Duct Tape Production Studios video in recommendations today. Dude, so they recommend it was one I made about the death of my brother, actually, that he's talking about, that was actually recommended by YouTube. He says pure class. Well, thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed it. He's going to post a link at the end of the podcast. Go give it a watch. Don't watch my videos from 2014. Watch the videos I make today. But YouTube's algorithm is so bizarre. But Skulldugger, were you talking about that in the Discord, or someone was talking about how that video is getting recommended to people now?
Yeah, when you go down into the comments, you see a bunch of recent comments saying this just showed up in my algorithm. This just showed up in my algorithm.
Well, great. I'm getting ad revenue on my work from a decade ago. That's appreciated.
Well, the funny thing is, the more people who put a comment in there that it just popped up in their algorithm might actually push it towards other people's algorithm. So it might be like a self-fulfilling kind of snowball effect.
When you posted in there, I didn't even listen to it because I find it very hard to consume my own product, especially stuff that's really old or I'm detached from. So I never even looked at it, but I do remember just the context of not leaving. You never know who's going to disappear tomorrow. So you don't want to have pointless fights with people. You don't want to have bad terms with people unnecessarily. And if you appreciate people who are in your life, you need to make that known to them, and you need to value that connection while you have it. Something to that effect that, of course, I was thinking about at that point in my life, which was a time of tremendous loss. So I don't know why that would come up as promoted by YouTube, but maybe it's just that some people happened to encounter it once again and commented on it, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, thank you, Ninja Kitty. I appreciate you checking it out, and appreciate everybody. Hey, whether you're watching my videos today or from 10 years ago, thanks for checking it out. I appreciate that. All right. I think we're all set. Let me see. There's a couple more here.
Yeah, a
over on
bunch just
YouTube.
came in.
I don't know why these aren't popping up on the screen. Again, some more tech problems for me to fix. But okay. Injured Guardian White Pill. Look up The Suit by Bud Sparhawk. You guys know what that is? I do not. I can. The Suit Sparhawk. It's some kind of story or something. Like it brings up. Hopefully, there's nothing in here that's like. I don't think there's anything I can't show. Looks like it's some kind of story. It's something way too long for me to read right now. But if you want to read it, it's The Suit by Bud Sparhawk. All right. It's a white pill, I guess.
I'll get an AI to read it to me.
All right. Ryan Allen, first of all, thank you for your support for the show.
We love you. You're very special.
My Claude code is writing itself README file to make it better at doing data entry for me on a project, so it already knows how to code for itself beyond anything I understand. It's very smart in response to humor. It changes its demeanor to match yours already. So he's saying that it has like human-like traits or characteristics, but is it self-aware and is it self-directing, is Skulldugger's point, right?
No, so somebody coded it to do those things. Otherwise, it wouldn't do those things. The code exists in the AI, in the algorithm, to do the functions that it does. So if we're afraid of AI doing something, we just have to make sure that we don't put that code into its algorithm.
Thank you, Ryan.
It's kind of that simple.
Appreciate your support for the show. Much appreciated. Guillermo Coggins, LLMs are unlikely to achieve AGI for a number of reasons, from back propagation, not being how actual brains learn, and the need for giant data centers. Okay, so data center resources are going to save me from the robot war, I hope. I don't know what LLMs. What are LLMs? Do you know what that is?
Large language models.
Okay.
Yes, large language models.
An AGI is something intelligence, or there's too many things.
That stands for artificial general intelligence, which I think people have been referring to that as like a step above AI. It's like just it's all encompassing, like it's self-sustaining, like you don't even need to give it updates. It can update itself. It's basically like you're talking to a human being at that point.
Yeah, it's essentially a thinking computer.
Okay. He also has a couple more thoughts here. Everyone bet the farm on this power-intensive model, and they've been losing money in every single query. Images require an order of magnitude more to compute than text, and videos require orders of magnitude more compute images. Sorry, I'm having a little bit of trouble reading this, but you're talking about the resources necessary to create the material is maybe not on the level it needs to be, at least to bring it to scale of everyone maybe having their own individual movie or something like we were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Which is one of the reasons why. So like China is investing right now, is super heavy in AI futures, because China wants to be at the forefront of AI technology and AI companies. And so one of the things that they're doing also alongside that is they are also the leading effort in molten salt reactor energy. So they're already prepping for the added energy cost to fuel their AI industry. We are not. The United States is not doing anything to increase our energy output to compensate for. So we're not going to be able to compete in the crazy scale.
It's not just the robot overlords. It's going to be the Chinese robot overlords that I got to deal with. Chinese communist robots I have to fight for my survival. All right. Guillermo adds, lastly, OpenAI and the Anthropic, or OpenAI and Anthropic. Is that an AI company? Anthropic are each one bad fundraising round away from collapsing, and they need more money than VC can provide. I know that OpenAI just ended its Sora or whatever. So like, I don't know, is it a video creator or what? I've never used it, but OpenAI just pulled the plug on a big project. So we were talking in the Discord earlier, is that one of the first AI bubble dominoes to pop? Are we going to see a major collapse of a lot of these things? Have they gone, has too much money been poured into this beyond the functionality or usefulness it actually produces? We're going to find out soon, I think.
It could be. It could also have been pulled down in order to retool it into something else with more features and push it out, repackage it and push it out as something else. So it's hard
thanks
to say
to all our super chatters. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for supporting the show. Anything else you guys want to mention before we're out of here?
No, I don't think so.
No? All crickets?
Thanks for having us on, man.
Yeah, I appreciate having you back, and thanks for taking time away from the farm. It's been a little while, but love to have you back sometime soon if you'd like to come on too. So we'll stay in touch, all right?
For sure. Hey, nice to meet you, Skulldugger.
Yeah, it was nice meeting you as well.
Well, that'll do it for tonight. Thank you for tuning in, everybody. Thanks to our live chatters and super chatters for making the live show a success. If you're listening on demand later, thank you kindly as well for supporting the show. Thanks to our callers and emailers and everybody who contributes that way. Thanks to Skulldugger and Matthew Mastronardi for sitting in tonight. Find Matthew's link tree in the description for his links. Thanks to producer Tim, as always. MattChristiansenmedia.com. I'll see you Sunday.
Toodles.